Hi.
Hey, hey, Mark, Joe, Mr. Golden. All right. Some people are connecting there. So good evening. And for historical record, tonight is Monday, July 6, 2020. We are gathered here as family, as friends, and as a community to celebrate the legacy of one Anthony Michael Hayes. We're gathered here to honor a son, a friend, a brother, a nephew, a cousin, and someone whose heart will live on forever. We're gathered here, as Prince once said, to celebrate a thing called life. And what a life he had. Anthony was the epitome of the phrase carpe diem, who valued people more than things and enjoyed every day to the fullest. Our service tonight will be broadcast live on Facebook. Was going to do YouTube, but I'm not sure exactly how to do that. So if anybody does, go for it. And recorded so we can share it later, and as well as for your knowledge, as well as your acknowledgement of permission to do so. It's wonderful to see so many of your faces. Some of you know, some of you don't know. If you know Anthony, he had a lot of specific details he wanted for his funeral. Coronavirus kind of changed a lot of what we can do. But the beauty is that it will really allows us to get together no matter where we are in the world. For those that don't know me, my name is Brian, and I'm proud to say that I am Anthony's father, and I will be hosting tonight. As we begin, I have to first of all say thank you to all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for all who are watching, wherever you are, whether live or after. Any of you are welcome to speak. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of schedule the service to last about 4 hours, because we have people from the West Coast going to join later. Come and go as you want. Totally whatever works for you. As we get started, want to make sure that when you want to speak, just kind of raise your hand. What we're going to kind of do is just kind of go around. We have a couple of videos. Kate was awesome to do a video. Marie also had a video that she did. So when you're ready to speak, raise your hand, unmute yourself. If you talk for over an hour, I'm gonna have to cut you off. But take your time, share whatever you have. And what you will hear tonight, I have a feeling, will echo what Travis said so eloquently last night, that Anthony touched a lot of people, and probably a lot more than I think that he even realized. And that's good to hear. And we're all eager to hear you and sharing your stories about Anthony, or in essence, whatever feels right for you in the moment. We're here to support one another. So with that, Marie, have you got the screen share?
Sorry, still doing tech support for parents. And it says that you have disabled the screen sharing. So if you can enable, I'm talking to Brian.
Let's see.
No, I'm sending you a different way.
As you can see, this is my first time, so I do not know how. If anybody knows how to do that, just let me know. Actually, we'll do that at the end. We'll do the videos at the end. We'll figure that out. Somebody can send me. And
Brian, the screen share is at the bottom next to where it says chat. There's like a green button that says screen share.
Yeah, but is that screen share only for me?
Oh,
So, Krista, do you want to go first? And we'll just do the videos last.
And I'll look it up while everyone's talking.
sure. Do you want to mute everybody, Brian?
How do I do it?
I think it's because somebody has like a TV on.
Brian, if you go to participants at the bottom, you should have an option to mute everyone.
There we go. Krista, feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay. All right. I am honored to be here, Brian, and to be your friend, and to have known Anthony since he was little. And he was a good kid, well behaved, loved him. Ryan as well. Such a good kid. You did a great job with them. You should be proud. There's a quote that I love, and I think it's important in a case like this. As you might know, my brother killed himself a few years ago. And so it's tough when we go through these times because you start asking why did this happen and what if? But I love this quote. I'm going to read it. I will love the light, for it shows me the way, yet I will endure the darkness because it shows me the stars. And that's by Og Mandino. And I think, you know, everybody has a mix in them of light and darkness. And we need to have both. But aren't the stars beautiful as well? So I'm going to sing something, and I apologize because I'm a backup singer, not a lead singer. And I'm only going to sing the beginning of this song, but I think it speaks to kind of the loneliness and the emotions that somebody might feel who's going through this. Okay. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry. Sorry, I was nervous.
No, that was
Anyway,
good.
so that's that. And then Brian, are you going to read your story from Chicken Soup from the Soul later?
What I will do is I will do that at the end.
Okay.
For those anybody wants to speak next, just raise your hand and hopefully I can see you. Also, there's a chat box on the right. So in that chat box, just kind of and you can interact with each other on the chat box. Hi, Frederic. Hi, Eddie. Just kind of, you can put in the chat box, hey, I'd like to speak next, and that makes it easy. But anybody want to volunteer to go next? And basically, in doing so, just unmute yourself and go for it. That's probably going to be easier. Absolutely. You can go next. Go for it. Eddie, please go next.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good. Hello, everyone. I don't know anyone other than Brian. Wow, the words. I just want to say this is a a beautiful thing to celebrate a life. And as sad as it is, but Brian is a great dad. And, you know, the questions of why and all that, you know, no one necessarily has the answers, but we all do the best we can, and we're here for each other, and we're here for Brian and Ryan and each other, and that's the most important thing. And to remember the good, and just being here for each other, and I hope that the unity of friends and family brings those that were close to Anthony peace and strength and love. And yeah.
Thank you, Eddie. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And if, hey, Jules. So if anybody would like to go next, again, you can use the chat or just raise your hand. With right now, we have about 60 people, so I'm not able to see everybody, but I'm just going to kind of go silent for a little bit. If you want to just start talking, or else I can kind of fill in for a little, fill in the gaps. But if whoever would like to go next.
I'd like to say something, if that's okay.
Please do.
Okay. I was able to see Anthony a couple months ago, and we've been friends, I don't even know how many years, and it's such a nice feeling. Like, whenever he walked into that room, that smile, it just matched mine, and we would just catch up like as if we saw each other yesterday, no matter how many months it's been. And it's just, I knew that he was just a good person, like just a good person, and I will have that memory with me forever, just the goodness, and that's what I'm gonna remember, and I hope everyone does too. Like, how he just lit up the room, and he was so happy no matter what the situation was. We would not see each other for months, and it was like I seen him yesterday. There was not one time that I would not call Anthony and he would not pick up the phone, and it's hard to find that, So I just want to say thank you. And I think we all thank you a lot for bringing him in here and just letting us have him in our life for the time that we were able to.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's interesting because you so many. Anthony had so many nuances. I mean, and even he was so many people in different stages. And
right.
It's so wild because, there's so many people that I knew, and watching the video, I'm like, man, there's so many people and even parts of him I didn't know. But the one thing about Anthony that I can share with you is that Anthony, two things. He absolutely loved life, and oh my God, he loved people to the point that it hurt. And I know. That's pretty much, so how did you first meet Anthony?
I met Anthony when I was in middle school, so we had some friends in common, and
so you went to snowsuits too?
No, I went to Boca Middle, but
okay.
I met him through the Gilsons, and then we all just kind of became a little family for a couple summers. I ended up moving away, but I never lost contact with Anthony, and my door was always open to him. I knew mine was the same way with him. No matter how many months we had been apart, whenever I'd run into him somewhere, it was like we were hanging out the day before, But I saw him a couple months ago, so I don't know. I have that just memory of him walking into where I was with the biggest smile, and it was the shittiest day outside, excuse my language, but he was just so happy. And that's what I will remember. And I want everyone to remember that too, because he was such a happy kid. And I don't know, I just can think of every time with him I can laugh. Every memory I can think of is just full of laughter, and how he would get me to speak to people that I didn't want to speak to, or go places that I didn't want to go to, but I'm happy I did, because the uncomfortable sometimes makes you comfortable. So that's why I'm talking right now. I'm just hoping maybe someone will want to speak to and just remember all the beautiful memories that we made with Anthony, because I know I won't forget them.
Yeah, thank you. That is beautiful.
Of course. So does anyone else want to chime in?
Go for it.
Yes, of course. Okay, so first and furthermost, good evening to everyone. I wish circumstances were different, but as we virtually gather here to embrace Anthony's life, it's hard not to cry, but we should not remember him with sadness. As we all know, he had a heart of gold. He always wanted to make everyone happy, and we are forever grateful to have been blessed with such an angel in our reality. And my friend, actually, she sent me this poem because I was really going through it, when I found out. And I think this is very powerful, and it's called Remember Me. So it says, remember me. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we shared throughout the years. Now I am content that my life, it was worthwhile, knowing that I passed along the way. I made somebody smile. When you are walking down the street and you got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy just because I am out of sight. Remember that I am with you.
Wow, I love that.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So, Anthony definitely embodied lots of love. Lots of love. And I hope we can all just live through him and remember all the very beautiful moments that we had with him. Absolutely.
It's interesting because I think that's one of the things that, Anthony really embodied, even from a young age. It's so interesting. He loved life so much. And I have to tell you, I mean, Anthony was an interesting, even from like 2 years old, and I'll share that story, is that, when I was, Anthony was 2, Ryan was about 1, and we're living in Wisconsin, and it was Sunday afternoon, and I was getting so frustrated because I'd go into their room, the room was a mess, and I went to Anthony and I'm like, if you don't stop and get your room clean right now, I'm going to take away all your good stuff. And at 2 years old, he just looked at me and he just, without batting an eye, he said, you can't. Like, what? And he's like, all the good stuff's in my heart. And I'm
That's
like,
so beautiful.
and it came to, there's this, just about the same time period, we were going in the car and Anthony and Ryan are in back and it's silent and there's kids sledding. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear Anthony say, when I die, I'm going to thank God for such a lovely place. And
Wow.
like at 2 years old, you're kind of looking like, who is that?
Wow. That is absolutely beautiful.
So how did you first meet Anthony?
I actually met Anthony through one of our close friends, Haley. So I met him not too long ago, but it felt like we knew each other forever almost, and we
Yeah.
have a lot of friends in common, and including Trenda for sure. So I met him at Haley's house, and I actually met you. I think you came to his hotel in West Palm Beach.
Oh,
when yes, that is me.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
yes. So he was so amazing though. He really had a heart of gold, and he called me And I was like, what, you lost my number? And he was like, no, I just got a new phone. That's why I asked you for your number. Cause like, and he's, and you know, and he called me and he was like, hold on, I have to tell you so much, but I'll call you right back. And when he called me back, I was sleeping. And I guess I don't know what happened after that. So hopefully we can, you know, we can find some justice for the situation.
Yeah, and if I may, and I thank you for sharing that. And one of the reasons that I said celebration, and I think it's really interesting, just I think 2 weeks ago, Anthony shared me a text and said that he was reading a book by the Dalai Lama. So,
Wow.
to give you a little idea with Buddhism, when someone dies in the Buddhist culture, the idea is that, you know, their funerals are like everybody's celebrating, because the idea is that the soul has a bigger purpose. So the soul has to go to wherever it goes. And so in order for the soul to get there, everybody has to like celebrate. So for whatever reason, I like that. So.
Most definitely. And actually, I called my father today and he told me the exact same thing, to celebrate his life. That's
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Marie, do you want to share the video?
Yes, let me see if I can do that.
Kate, do you want to, Kate or Marie, whichever one can share.
I've never. I did.
Marie's got it. There you go.
Okay. Do you know how to do this? I'll do mine after.
Perfect.
What do I need?
You guys gotta send that to me too.
Yeah, I'll send you the one I made too.
What I'm also going to do is I'm going to put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Hey, Colton.
How you guys doing?
I think that this is the wild thing is, you know, like Colton, I've known Colton since he was so young, and it's so awesome to see, you know, you as an adult and look absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Just don't call me sir. That makes me feel.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to go, feel free, and I'm going to work on getting this screen share to work.
I'll talk.
Hey, Lucas.
Hi, my name is Lucas. For those of you who don't know me, Anthony earlier this year was living with me down in Lighthouse Point. My dad was going back to Canada, and he offered Anthony a place to stay because the shutdowns were all happening. So he took over my dad's room for a couple months. I've known Anthony since late middle school. Like everyone else said, he's the kind of kid that could go away for a year and a half, come back and tell you about his adventures, and it felt like you saw him last week. It felt like you never skipped a beat with Anthony. And just to piggyback on what a couple of you were saying before about the celebrating, me and him actually had a conversation about funerals here in my living room, because I was saying, you know, no, I want mine to be kind of sad. You know, I want people to feel sad for like what happened. And he was like, nah. People are gonna be sad, but it needs to be an excuse for everyone to get together, see each other, and be happy. Obviously, with the circumstances, we can't be together, but we can try and be happy. We can try and celebrate his life, and we can try and still enjoy what we have to look forward to.
You know, Lucas, thank you so much for that. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people on this call that have had incredibly detailed conversations about death with Anthony. Anthony started talking about death at 2 years old in a very frank and upfront manner. And what was interesting that you say that is the other part, Lucas, that like so cracks me up. He logged more miles in his lifetime than more people will ever, all of us combined. It's like every time it was like, where's Anthony? Oh, he's in California. Where's Anthony? Oh yeah, he's in Florida. Oh, he's in Ohio.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
He was a true road dog.
That he was.
Brian, can you hear me?
Who's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Dana has her hand raised.
Dana. Dana is one of my best friends, and Dana, you are good. Go, Dana.
I know I didn't know Anthony, but one of my other family members, her husband committed suicide. So I know what Brian's going through, and I don't know his brother, but if his brother needs anything or anybody else on here, anybody who's a friend of Brian is a friend of me, and my sister Julie is on here somewhere. So I feel his pain for him, and I would do anything I could to help him because he helped me when my dad passed away. So it's very nice to meet everybody.
Wow, it's a pleasure.
And I feel honored to be on with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexander.
That's all I can say.
Good. Alexander, you're in.
Hey, how you doing? Anthony did a lot for me. You know, I met Anthony about 2 years ago, and he did a whole lot for me in my life. I went through some trouble where I was stranded in another state, and he literally lent someone his car so they could come drive to come get me, and they drove me right back to Denver. And that's where I met with him, and then like we hung out, and he was really uplifting, and like we were talking ever since. And then we went to Halloween, and when we went to Halloween, it was really awesome. And he looked at me and smiled, and he was like, "Hey man, you know, we're kind of a big deal around here." And I was like, "Nah, man, no, you're a big deal around here, man. You're the best, man." And he's like, "You mean that?" I was like, "Man, you're for real, man. You're the best. Like, if there's a big deal, Anthony, you're the big deal, man. You uplift everybody. You only care what everybody else is happiness. You know what I mean? You only care about everybody else's happiness, and if they're happy, you're happy. And that's the greatest thing. You know what I mean? It was a blessing to be around him, to have him in our presence ever. You know what I mean? Whenever he was around me, he always fueled me to do better. He always was like, yo, man, you can do that. Yeah, man, do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Always, if anything was wrong, you could see it on my face. It's like, hey, man, you want to go outside? You want to talk, man? You know what I mean? And that was the best thing. And that's why he will forever be one of my best friends. You know what I mean? It's really hard, but you know, I love him. You know what I mean?
And it's so funny to say that because he called me one day and just started the conversation out as only Anthony can. You know, he starts the conversation out, "You know I'm a big deal, don't you?" And I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I was just gonna say that.
I really would say it to him all the time. Like, "Anthony, no, dog, you're a big deal."
He would come in the room and just be like, "You know, I'm kind of a big deal." Like,
Yo, bro. I'm glad that he was. He is a big deal.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Anthony epitomized the idea of being a dreamer. Oh my God,
Yeah.
he'd call me up, and I know with all of you, he would call and it's like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I got this business, and
Yeah.
you know, and some of the things, you know, I'd be like, Anthony, you kind of got to have a process to that. He's like, no, I'm a big deal. I'm going to make it happen. So how did you know, where did you first meet Anthony Tanner? Who would like to speak next?
I'll go.
Hey, Trenda.
Hi. Just off the kind of a big deal thing, I can't even count the amount of times when I first met him. Like, and then with the Dalai Lama thing, he was like sharing that with me a couple weeks ago, and he shared this quote that I think is really pretty by the Dalai Lama, and it's you are so anxious about the future that you do not enjoy the present. You therefore do not live in the present or the future. You live as if you are never going to die, and then die having never really lived. And he's definitely really lived and lived a life like to the fullest every minute. And I guess that's a blessing for his life. I wrote like a little poem about death that I could share.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. You must know it is not necessary to say, actually, can you come back to me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll go through that. Whatever you're feeling right now is normal. If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like laughing, laugh. All of it's part of the process. All of it's processed differently. It's part of going through. The more that you can go through the emotions, that actually is helpful. I'm new to this, so you know I can say that all of you in your own way has helped me tremendously, because one of the things, and I've been saying this a lot, I find it so fascinating how there's two pillars in life. There's birth and death. And it's interesting because there's such an outpouring of love in those two pillars. You know, somebody's born and everybody's there. Somebody dies and everybody's there. But one of the things is in between, when we're alive, that's when we need each other. And so on that part, you know, if anybody needs anything from me, you know, as I would say, we're all in this together. And anything I can do, just let me know. Linda, beautiful to see you. Anybody want to go next?
Brian, I'll go.
Absolutely.
You know, just like what you were saying, you know, hi, everybody. So I haven't seen Brian, I haven't seen Anthony in a little while, but, you know, one of the things that stands out to me is he was absolutely, he never wanted anybody around him to feel any pain, to suffer, right? He would always do whatever he could to put a smile on anybody else's face. Like, you know, to me, sometimes I could feel that he was covering something up, but he never wanted to put that on anybody else. And, you know, he really did, like people said, he was such a bright, he really did shine. And, you know, we're really going to miss him, man.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Eli. I think that, you know, it's interesting, the different people that have reached out, you know, that have, you know, sent me text messages and stuff. And some people I know, and, you know, some people's the first time. And, you know, Trenda's, we've, you know, really gotten to kind of communicate back and forth. And, you know, I'll share a little bit, kind of going off intuition. For those of you who don't know, his name, Anthony Michael Hayes. So he was named after Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So he's named after Anthony, and then Michael is Blackie, Blackie Dammit. So if you've ever seen Lethal Weapon 1, the drug dealer who's doing the checkers, yeah, that's Blackie. That's who his middle name was. And it was really interesting that Anthony was so fascinating how much wisdom he had at each stage of his life. And I think that he surrounded himself with a lot of people. I mean, Trenda, you've shared, Colton, Nick, you know, the people that were younger that, you know, and Ryan, who's unbelievably talented. And, you know, it's interesting. One of the things that, you know, if somebody can kind of talk about this is that, you know, it's so weird because, you know, we don't know each other. I mean, it doesn't matter how long we know each other. We don't know each other. We only know how we show up in person. So, you know, I've known Anthony for 27 years, and all of a sudden he shows me this artwork, and I'm like, I didn't know you could draw. So, you know, there was, and by the way, speaking of art and music, my God, I don't know if there's anyone who absolutely like got engrossed in music as much as Anthony. So anybody next?
I'll say something. I don't know how much I'll be able to say, but I'll speak. If y'all don't know me, my name is Tyler, or Critter. Been through a lot. From him living with me in Tennessee to California, that's one kid that I will never forget. Like, through so much stuff, like, no matter what, that kid always I could not talk to him for 3 months and I would get a call. Yo, what's up? What are you doing, bro? Oh man, I'm sitting here not doing shit. Oh, all right, well, I'll see you in a week. I'm gonna come out there and visit you. And you come out here for a week or wherever I was, Chattanooga, Nashville, LA, the desert, wherever I was, he would pop up for a week, so he'd say. And he'd be out there for a couple months. And it was the funnest times I've probably ever had, because no matter who I brought Hydro around or where I brought him, everybody remembered him, whether it was good or bad. They knew who Hydro was. They loved Hydro, or they'd be like, I don't know, Hydro's a little much for me. But at the end of the day, I've never heard anybody say anything bad or anything disrespectful about Hydro, because he just wanted everybody to have a good time. And whether that be him spending all of his money to buy beer, whatever, for everybody, just so everybody can hang out and chill, that was what Hydro wanted to do. Whether it was, oh, go buy $100 worth of meat and stuff so he could grill out with all his friends, or get everybody to come to the beach, or whatever it was. I used to walk 3 miles just to go kick it with Hydro and go chill at the first apartment that everybody would go hang out at. And ever since then, it's just, that's been my brother, no matter what. And the circumstances.
Hey Tyler, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So tell me, where did Hydro come from?
I don't even know. That was just his original nickname. That was when we all first started kicking it, as maybe people don't want to hear it, but that was he was the blunt roller. So at first he was the blunt roller. He was Hydro. He'd roll up the blunts for everybody. And then it just kind of stuck. He didn't even smoke. He would just hang out. Didn't even smoke and be like, well, I'll roll y'all's blunts. And he was still Hydro no matter what. And I have friends that are all over the country that literally will just ask me, whatever happened to that one kid that you had out here for a little bit? What happened to him? Is he doing good? What's up? And it was always Anthony. Everybody remembers him no matter what. And I know his legacy will live on, and I just hope everybody remembers the good times that they had with him and how real of a friend he actually was.
Yeah, Tyler, it's been a long time, man. It's so good to see you. I
Yeah, I'm
gotta
sorry
tell
my
you,
camera's off. This is just
no, you spoke great, man. Tyler, I gotta tell you, Anthony absolutely loved you, man. I've heard your name over the years so many times, and just thank you so much for what you did for him.
well, I want to thank you guys because if it weren't for you guys, Hydra wouldn't have been here, and he helped me a lot when I needed it. He helped my stepsister, everybody. It doesn't just stop with me. It's everybody he ever met. He did the most for.
That's beautiful, man.
So I'm
Anybody
going to
wanna-
share.
Yeah.
I'm Aunt Marie. I'm Brian's younger sister. So knew Anthony for, since he was before he was born. And how many of you knew his love of shoes? So there was one time when he was coming out for hockey camp, and my parents bought him a pair of brand new bright pink shoes. But they arrived when he was in camp, so I was supposed to bring them to him. So I took pictures of every one of my family members, my husband, me, my 3 children, and our dog wearing his pink shoes. And he was so mad. You're going to ruin my shoes. I'm like, dude, you wear them on your feet. It's not the pink shoes, Colton.
Oh, that is so awesome, man.
And it was so funny because we finally went up to Breckenridge where the hockey camp was, and he got his pink shoes. And the very first night he got scuffs on him, and he's like, Aunt Marie, what do I do? I'm like, dude, they're shoes. But yeah, he was obsessed with shoes.
Yeah, and what I think that kind of a little bit different, the one thing that I absolutely love about Anthony, people spend their entire lives trying to feel comfortable in their own skin. At a young age, and probably nobody, even Ryan, you probably don't even know this, Ryan, is that the favorite store of Ryan as a kid, at 3 years old, was the candle store. He loved smells and aromas, and he would go and he'd wear pink shoes, and he's like, I don't care. And I remember once that I looked at his tattoo, one of his many tattoos, and I gotta tell you, a lot of his tattoos were not professionally done. So I'm looking at this tattoo.
I got my tattoos the same night he got his.
So there's a
the last
tattoo.
one he got in my house.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I'm looking at one of his tattoos, and I'm like, dude, what is that? And he's like, I don't know. I was drunk. I did it myself. And I'm like,
Can I just add in that he came to Tennessee with a bunch of tattoos like that? And I was like, what did you do? And he said, man, I got fucked up and I just got all these tattoos. It looks pretty dope though, right? I got my homie's dad's name on my butt too.
Oh my God. That happened at my house. I think he got a bunch of the last tattoos he got at my house. The rest of his arm done. And the anarchy symbol on his
He did get the last tattoo at your house. Yeah. That is
it was so awesome, dude. He's
so
the best.
beautiful. So beautiful.
And he took it like a champ. He was so funny. He was so funny.
Hey, Dad.
Yep. Hey, so this is Brian.
Richard tattooed his dad's name on Anthony's butt.
Tell the story.
Well, we were all just drinking one night, and we're out in the garage, and Richard's dad was drunk, and he was like, bet you won't get my name tattooed on your butt. So, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, you know Hydro, he done said, whoops, put that on my butt.
Big old Jerry.
Yeah.
Who would like to speak next?
There's one more thing that I'd just like to share.
Lucas, you can share as much as you want.
It's a text message that I've been reading a lot since everything happened that he sent me right when he moved in with me. It just started with him, thanking me for bringing him in, and it just goes to show his character. Just saying, if I'm ever doing anything that bothers you, just tell me and I'll work on it. I always considered you a good friend and want to stay a good friend. Sometimes living with people ruins friendships, and I would hate for that to happen with you, if you know what I mean. I love you, buddy. And it just kind of shows who he is. Before he could even make his first mistake living with me, he wanted to make sure that I knew he would work on it. He might be a flawed person, but he wants to be able to do right by the people around him, and that was the most important thing to him.
Yeah, I think that is really very, very true. That one thing about Anthony is that everybody on here, and this is somebody, if he met you once or, it didn't matter. He cared more about you than he did even himself. I mean, when it came to grilling, when it came to drinking, it's like if you were 4 states away, yo, I got to go here. I'm like, why? Yeah, he was always looking to try to help everybody. So just thank you for allowing him that, because that gave him such great pleasure.
Oh, I did mute myself.
There you go. Means you get to talk.
Okay, sorry. I was trying. I didn't prepare words, but I've just been, Anthony and I both struggled with depression, and he was like, that was in our way, like our bond, and he like understood my pain and I understood his pain, and we would do and like talk and just try. Like I knew how much he tried to, like, I guess, absorb my pain, and from what I'm hearing, he did that with everyone, and it was just such like raw love that I would get from him, and yeah.
And I think that, there's a lot of topics here that may be kind of a deep dive, but I think it's really important that in this time to really understand compassion, empathy, and that, when you have no idea what's going on in someone's head. And if you are depressed, reaching out, and, it may seem like it's a little thing, but thank you for sharing that vulnerability with us. And is there anything we can do to support you?
This is the support that I need right now, but thank you.
One of the things that I'm going to offer too is that usually the most difficult part is that it's not right now. It's, after when we all leave. So if there's any way, I'm going to put some things up on YouTube and, on Facebook. And if anybody needs us to reach out, send me a text message. Send one another a text message. Just Colton, just don't call me sir.
I will again.
Who's next?
I'll go ahead and say a little something.
Please do.
My name is Jason. I met Anthony really recently, and I'm not gonna lie, we had a really interesting conversation. I've kind of like looked at him and just kind of assumed that he wasn't the most conscious person. And because like of his tattoos or whatever, I just kind of assumed, just based on being judgmental. And then within the first conversation, I got extremely excited because he brought up the fact that he was reading this book by the Dalai Lama or whatever. And I was like pretty much reading the same book. And I was like so surprised that he was reading the book. And I was like, yo, that really put me in my place. I got to work on like my judgmental like characteristics, because like I kind of feel like the book was kind of teaching me stuff about that in particular, and it was like not like a test or something, but like I kind of felt like that moment like really like kind of taught me a lesson, and like I kind of bonded with him for a second, but he left very shortly after. He got a couple of tattoos and then he left, and then very shortly after passed away. And it was kind of like the only instant I really had with him physically, but I thought he was a really cool person, honestly.
Hey, Jason, I love that you used the word that you did, and, you know, kind of being conscious. And I'd love to hear more about, you know, what got you into reading that, and, you know, how, you know, that came to be for you.
Uh, I kind of was reading, I was kind of researching more about Alan Watts, and first it was Terrence McKenna and then Alan Watts, and I was kind of avoiding doing research on the Dalai Lama because it sounded so mainstream or whatever. But then eventually I kind of like humbled myself and like started kind of like doing a little bit of research and stuff. And then around the same time that I started like researching the new information, like that occurrence happened. So it kind of stood out to me, because sometimes when you start researching new stuff and just new stuff start to happen, I don't know, I like try to like take awareness to it. Like I'm not really superstitious or anything, but like I try to be aware of like new patterns and stuff. And that's about it. But like honestly, he seemed like a really cool person to me, and I kind of wanted to like, you know, like get to know him a bit better.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for letting us get to know you better, and especially for knowing him for such a short period of time. Thank you so much for coming on here. And I know that a lot of you are Anthony's age, which means you're a little younger than I am. And Colton, you know, I'm gonna keep ribbing you because, you know, I've known you the longest.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Not gonna hear the end of that one.
Exactly. One of the things I kind of want to say is that, you know, a lot of you guys are Anthony's age, and please don't let my generation stop you from being you. I mean, you guys are just, all of you that, you know, are so amazing, wonderful, and please continue growing, speaking, being exactly who you are. If you're feeling depressed, feel whatever you're feeling. But man, just that's my thing, is you guys are awesome. Iris, you said you wanted to go next, and please feel free.
Hi, how you doing? So my name is Brian, or Spicoli, or Spick. I got a bunch of nicknames, me and Anthony. So I moved here from New Jersey, 2010. And Anthony was like one of the first few kids that I met when I moved here. Started off with Logan and Critter, and Anthony was at my house. He was like a second brother to me. You know, he was like I don't have a brother, I have a sister, but he was like a brother to me. Like, he lived at my house for like 2 years. I feel like he was just always on the couch. You know, we spent like so much time together. It's crazy. He would always be down to go anywhere. Like let's go to Miami, get a hotel for the night. I'm like, okay, like let's go. Like, he was just always had that thing in him that you just wanted to keep going. And he actually, come here. This dog. So Caroline gave this dog to Anthony. Chris Conan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was when we had an apartment in Boca at the time, and we couldn't really take care of our own selves at that point. To take care of a dog would have been like, I don't know if it would have turned out too great. So he gave the dog to my family, and we still have it today. And the dog, my mom is forever grateful for that. And there's just so much memories with that kid. It's heartbreaking. But I'm glad to meet you for the first time, and I'd say he was just a great kid.
Hey, Brian. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's interesting because I have to tell you, Brian, that you know, I'm kind of like what Jason said, is aware of patterns or something. And there's something that's really interesting, Brian, is that you know, there's 72 people on here, and for whatever reason, you're the face that I'm seeing from the beginning. And, you know, kind of one of those things, there's no such thing as a coincidence. So, you know, I think that there's something that, you know, there that I'm so glad that you shared.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian. Not sure if you remember me, Donald from Toastmasters.
Hey, Donald.
Hey, Krista and I were talking the other day, and she told me about Anthony. And though I never met him in person per se, one of the things that kept coming back to mind was the thought. There's something you've heard, and I've just heard it from others here. The golden rule is treat others the way that you would like to be treated. But the platinum rule is treat others the way that they would like to be treated. And it sounds like that's kind of what defines Anthony, where he was the person that was willing to help other people and willing to give to them and treat them the way they want to be treated. And going back to, I forgot the gentleman's name, reading a book on Dalai Lama, I think we all fall into that judgment times, you know, make wrong judgments at times. And I think, you know, we can use this opportunity as an experience for us to grow and become better people and to become more like Anthony. Anyways, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. We lost my cousin recently, and I just know the hurt and pain, but when we went and we celebrated his life, and that made a huge difference for me. So there's a way that I can celebrate his life as well and to be a better person hearing about Anthony. I just wanted to come and share my words, and I like Colton's words, so I'm going to call you sir from now on. So,
That's all right. Donald, thank you so much for sharing. And I think that, you know, it's interesting because Anthony was very much, and Trent and I were talking about this and laughing about this, as there's so many things that, you know, you laugh about, you cry about as life itself. And we were laughing about how much of a chameleon Anthony is. You know, one day he's wearing, you know, he's dressed up. The next day I'm like, and even when he was younger, I'm like, you're going to go out looking like that? And he's like, I don't care. And I can tell you, I mean, it's just so funny how, you know, we would go and we'd go to these all to eat Chinese buffet, and you know, he'd be like in junior high, and Ryan and I were done eating, and Anthony's an hour later just getting started, and I'm like, damn. And his you know, he'd always come back to, I don't care when I die, I'm here to live. And it was just so wild hearing that from such a little kid that, you know, I mean, he really did transcend the whole epitome of just living life.
And he always stole my Chinese donuts.
That he did. I forgot about that.
Kind of messed up.
And I have to tell you, I mean, one of the things, speaking to Ryan and with, you know, Ryan and Anthony had kind of a unique childhood. You know, I was the only parent for most of his life, and that meant that we were, you know, we were each other. But one of the things I think that was so amazing about Anthony is that, you know, he had Aunt Marie, his grandma, who he said was his best friend, and confided with things that's the one thing I can tell you with Anthony too. He would always say, you may not want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And I'm always like, dude, I don't want to hear that. But I love the fact that he just, there was a lot of authenticity in that. If he did something, you know, he's like, yep, I'm going to do this. I don't care if you like it or not, but I'm going to do it. And I admire that. I admire Anthony from the beginning to the end, proud of him, and just want to hear, you know, continue that flow of whatever you want to share.
Speaking of authenticity, like the way that nicknames always kind of transfer and keep progressing, by the end, Hydro had turned into Authentic Dro. He was authentic. It was something that we all knew about him.
And then straight to just authentic.
That man had like 30 nicknames, I swear. Authentic Dro, Authentic Armpit, Hydraulic Dro. Yeah, bro, I could go on for like an hour of nicknames for Hydro or Anthony.
So, okay, so here's, so who were his, what do you call it, spray painting buddies? It's like I have yet to go down to Miami and see Hydro decorated on some of the buildings.
That's me and Logan.
Oh, okay.
For the shirts we're making, I asked Logan and Critter Tyler to collab on a piece for them, so they're in the process of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Time.
We're about to do it big for Hydro.
Yeah, we're gonna make shirts, and the boys are whipping up a piece for them because that was who he would always do like graffiti with.
Yeah.
And I have sketches that I just sent to Ryan that are in my sketchbook that he sketched that are
Can y'all hear me?
random little things because he used to always go on my sketchbook and sketch over it.
Yeah, I'm like, I have to go through my notebooks from when we lived out there because Anthony and Tyler, when I was in a bad position out here in Colorado I told them, they called me, or I had called them, and I was like, yeah, I'm living with someone that I don't want to live with anymore. Anthony and Tyler, the next day, they were like, we're on the way. It wasn't even the next day. They were booking a flight, and they showed me within like an hour. And they booked a flight, and Anthony and Tyler came out to Colorado, and it was like my birthday weekend, so we hung out and like celebrated my birthday or whatever, and the next day we drove out to California where we all lived together for a little bit, and then after that I moved to Boulder, and sure enough Anthony moved like right back to Colorado because he couldn't stay in Cali too long, and so he came out and lived with me there for a little bit. But I have all these notebooks, and I paint a lot and draw and stuff, and so I would always pull out his creative side, and I have to go through my notebooks because there's probably so much little doodles and stuff that he has done in them, and I'll have to go through them and find them. Because he always, whenever I painted, he was like, I want to paint too, Kate. Like, give me something. Like, set me up. He'd always say, set me up with something. Like, what should I do? What should I do? I'm like, do whatever you want. I don't know.
And it's so awesome to see it, Kate, because you meant so much to Anthony. And, you know, I think you and Anthony and so many of you have gone through so many good times and bad times with Anthony. And
yeah, he pulled me out of a really bad funk I was in, and we all always helped each other out in that aspect. Like, he'd start going down, I'm like, we're not doing this, like, it's all good, and we'd always help each other out with that, which was really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll go into a little bit is I'm Tanner, for anybody that doesn't know me. I've known Anthony for a very long time, back in the days.
Thanks so much, Tanner.
Chilling with Brian to when he's living with me on and off in Colorado. And I mean, there's so many memories that I could go on forever. But it's funny because, you know, through all the bad times you have in life, there's not too many people that stick around with you around those times. But for some reason, Anthony he'd stick to you like a cockroach around those times, and he'd be right there.
and no matter what, how bad it got, for some reason he'd be there, and it could be horrible, and he'd be telling you it's going to be okay. Like, no matter what, it could be, you know, whatever is going on. We could be broke, we could be robbed, we could lose everything. He's the one, I don't know if you guys know, but I got in a car wreck back in December and totaled my Lexus, and Anthony was with me, and that was just a shit show for both of us. We've been in the hospital in and out, and I know he was dealing with going to the hospital and whatever else, just with that crap. So, you know, he was the most positive person I've ever met through the worst things you could possibly go through, and hearing everything that everybody says and everything that I've known, all the stories, he's always been like that. And it's hard for me to go on without just breaking down to the tears talking about any kind of stories with him. Just a couple things. You guys were talking about the clothing stuff. Him living with me, I'd be cleaning up my front room and there's a pile of his clothes, and it's like, what's this? There's a Pooh Bear onesie mixed with some kind of Speedo going on. Oh, it must be Anthony's, you know, with some nice golf wear to wear to work to go and hook up and stuff. And he gets hired.
Piles of clothes at my house. And I'd be like, Anthony, take this with you. Like, I don't know when I'm going to see you next. He's like, oh, I'll be back. Just keep them in your closet. Save like a spot for me in your closet. And I'm like, I have no more room. Like, why are you leaving all these clothes here?
He would
I'm gonna be back to wear them. I'm gonna be back.
Yeah, he'd get clothes dirty, and then he'd be like, "Oh no, we're gonna go to
Plato's
closet." Yeah, I have a
loved
hat.
his
I have a hat that he bought me from Plato's.
He loved Plato's. I'm like, he always
That
wanted
boy
to
would
go
buy their
shopping.
breakfast
He was
stuff.
my favorite like shopping buddy because he would be like, get it, dude. I'm like,
he'd much
you're
rather
so
just go
bad
and
to
buy a whole new
shopping.
wardrobe rather than go do laundry. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's never one thing. He would be like, let's just get it all.
I remember
He
he
would
came
have
to
like
Tennessee and made us go to Plato's and got a red leopard print, like, long jacket that was like down to his thighs, and it was like trucks. He would wear that and be like, hey, this shit's fresh as heck.
That's when Brian and I were talking the other day. When Brian and I were talking the other day, I'm like, yeah, he has clothes like everywhere. He'd be, hey, Aunt Marie, can I leave some clothes here? I've got some bags. Do you have somewhere I can leave? I'm like, dude, like, you have stuff everywhere.
He's got stash houses for his clothes everywhere.
I don't know
He
if
has
Emily's
wardrobes
still
in different
on,
states.
but Emily worked at Plato's, and I know every time he went to Boca, she would probably see him because he would always just, anywhere he'd come out here to Colorado or when we were in California, he'd be like, let's go to Plato's. I need a new wardrobe. I'm like, who are you? Like,
He would come in and just
buying
tell
all
me
these
he has no.
wardrobes.
He would just come in and say, I have no clothes. And whoever he was with was like, there's a bag of clothes at my house that he just doesn't want to wear.
He'd never have any clothes, and then he'd have to go. It's
He
like,
would
I
just-
just got back from a road trip. It's like, where's your backpack? Oh no, this is what I had.
You would always literally be the most excited person to come see me at work. Like, coming inside, like, what do you have for me? Where's it at, Emily? Like, I know it's in the back. Like, come on, just grab it for me. Always, what's up with the family discount?
I haven't seen him I hadn't seen him in like several years, but I've still got shirts of his from like high school that still fit me. And I was like, well, I guess these are mine now. I'm just going to keep them.
No, we all got reminders now.
It was so fun, or it was just so weird. Like, I was cleaning out my closet and I'm like, oh, Dunder Mifflin, like from The Office, his like one of his favorite shows. He would have this shirt, and I remember he left it, and I'm cleaning out my closet. I wanted to wear like a big t-shirt, and I threw this shirt on, and like I sent him a Snapchat, and like it was like the day before everything happened, and like I've never worn that shirt in my life, and I've never even touched his pile of clothes except for like this pair of pants. I was like, if you're not taking these are gonna become my painting pants. And so there's like paint all over them. He's like, I'm still gonna wear them if you get paint on them. But it was so weird. I wore like his shirt to bed, and I sent him a Snapchat. I've never like worn any of the pile of stuff he left there. And then the next day, like I heard everything, and I was like, "This is so weird." Like I'm in his shirt right now. Like it was just so weird.
That's weird you say that, because the hat I was wearing, I went to the beach the other day and I'm like, oh, I need a hat, and I was wearing it, and then that happened too, and I just started crying because I
Yeah, I
had
was
it
like
on. I'm like,
holding.
oh, it's so weird how that happened.
It was so weird. And then the blanket on my bed is like my favorite blanket. Is one that he got me from Electric Force one year because I couldn't go, or like I don't even remember what happened, but
I
he
have
always
this big,
came bearing gifts when he came to my house. Like he
every
never
time I have
came
this big
empty.
dead blanket too from him.
Yeah, mine's a dead one too.
Yeah, and Tanner and Kate, one of the things I find so amazing about Anthony, and this is a good life lesson, that whatever you want to do, you can find a way to do it. The dude had no money whatsoever, and yet
Yeah.
he'd be like, oh yeah, this is a $500 shirt. And I'm like, what?
He would have, if he had like $100 in his bank account, he'd be like, all right, we're getting a bottle of Jameson, some beers, and something to grill. Or
Like,
like,
I'm taking everybody out to lunch.
yeah, like, or like, we're going to lunch and we're like, I'm treating you on a fat lunch. Or like, it was always like, let's just blow it all the best, like whatever we could do right now that sounds best.
I feel like he bought everyone's festival tickets just so he could have fun with everyone.
Yeah,
He
just
did,
he
he
bought you
did.
there. He'd be like, I'll buy your ticket. I don't know how I'm getting mine, but you're
I'll
coming.
get mine, I'll get yours.
Yeah.
He used to, in high school, he used to live off of the Chipotle app. He would buy everybody Chipotle and then be like, hey, can you get me a pack of cigarettes? I'll buy you Chipotle. Or like, hey, can you buy me this shirt? And then later tomorrow I'll buy you Chipotle. And I think it was his grandma's account. And then I think one time his grandma was like, Anthony, you spent $500 on Chipotle this month. Like, what's going on? And he would just gamble his way through getting everything by buying people Chipotle. That was one of the funniest things about him.
To Chipotle to go get Chipotle because nobody had a car.
And he just had that app on his phone that, like, I think had his grandma's card connected to it. So he was just like, Chipotle on grandma, and was like, you need Chipotle? Like, buy me a pack of cigarettes. I'll get you Chipotle. Like anyway, he could gamble himself. That's what he would do.
He was actually the other part. Talk about lucky gambling. He'd go gambling, and all of a sudden it would be like, oh yeah, I won $200. I'm like, what? Yeah, on a scratch off.
He's the only one to go to Vegas and be like, oh, I won.
He lived with me for like a couple of months when I had the extra bedroom in Boulder. I never asked him for rent because he would always be like, I'll just buy food, or I'll like supply like food or whatever, alcohol or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you're good, whatever, like rent's cheap, like you don't need to split it. You always want to cook anyways, like I'm down for that.
Me and Anthony had gone to a pawn shop, and I was waiting for a background check to go through, and we were right by the casino. And he was like, let's just go to the casino. Let's just go to the casino. So we go in there, and we're there for 5 minutes. I spent the $20 that I wanted to spend on roulette, and I walked over to him, and he was like, hold on, we can't leave. I just hit the jackpot. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I told you, it's this machine. It's always this machine. And he just stands up, and he takes his ticket. And I was like, what did you put in that machine? He goes, $10. I was like, what did you just make? He goes, $350. And I was like, Anthony, we've been here for 5 minutes. And he was like, I know, we got to get out right now.
That if he won $350 in 5 minutes, he'd have $350 blown in 3 minutes. I mean, he's like, let's go.
Immediately, it was, I'm taking everyone we're with out to lunch. Don't worry, I got it.
Hey, Brian, mom and dad
eat good, that's for sure.
What's that, Ray?
Mom and dad have their hand raised.
Okay, you just press your button and.
Dad, did you want to say something? Press the space bar.
Make sure to mute yourself, guys.
What?
Maybe it was an accidental raise of the hand.
So the one thing that doesn't work with this is you can't do sign language with this. It doesn't work. So, by the way, I think that this is really what I would kind of hope for, just kind of this free flow of everybody just kind of talking and sharing. And, you know, it's so wild seeing, you know, getting to know Anthony from an adult because he was gone so much. And, you know, he'd come down to Florida and he's like, hey, man, I'm going to come down. I'm going to see you. And I'd be like, where'd you go? Oh, I'm back in Colorado. I'm like, what? And you know, he'd be off seeing you guys. And then, you know, I'm like, okay. 2 months later, oh, yeah, I'm back in Florida. I'm like, okay.
You want to see if I can share the video now?
Yeah.
Okay. So my video starts. So when Anthony and Ryan were little, Brian came with them and lived at our house with me and my husband. Anthony and my eldest, Tony, are only 8 months apart. And Ryan is only 16 months younger than that. So several months of the year, Ryan and Tony are actually the same age. And so Anthony and Ryan were more like my kids than just my nephews. And they came to my house after school. They went to the same school together. Some years Tony and Anthony were in the same class. And then in 6th grade, we moved to Colorado. And I talked to Brian, and we realized camp's expensive. Plane tickets are cheaper. So every summer through middle school, we had Aunt Marie camp. And the boys would fly out here, and we'd go to Elitch's. And before I show the video, one more story that I loved. We went to Elitch Gardens. And so those of you who live in Colorado, if you remember the flying roller coaster that you got into standing up, and then it laid you out down on your stomach, and then you went through the roller coaster on your stomach. And Anthony was next to me, and he screamed the entire way. And we get off, and I'm like, oh my God, you scream like a little girl.
At first, Mom turned because I was on one side and Anthony was on the other side. And my mom, like, I remember looking over, like, what is that noise? And my mom's looking at me with this, like, absolutely confused face. And then we both look at Anthony, and he's just got his mouth open. His eyes are huge, just screaming his little heart out.
It was awesome. So my video starts the last summer that he came out when he was 15, and is actually a regression back to the first picture I have of him when he is 5 days old. So let me see if we can make this work. And the first song is Bubbly, because every time it came on the radio, he's like, oh my God, Aunt Marie, this song. And I'm like, dude, are you a girl? Like, what is with that? So let's see if I can make this
Just to give you guys all a heads up, in the video I made, it's Taylor Swift, and he requested that. So,
and I have that in mind too. So, okay, can you see that?
Yep. Now, can you do it, or am I the one that's...
So it shows that I'm sharing. Can you not see it?
Yep.
He did love some Taylor Swift for sure.
like, he would always make me to listen to Twiddle or like Hootie and the Blowfish. I'm like, Anthony, you're killing me.
So your screen is being shared, and it just shows the file, but it doesn't show the actual video.
That's so weird because it's playing on mine.
I could try doing the video I made too.
Hey,
Yeah,
go for it.
All right, let's.
Can I say something, Bri?
Yeah.
So my name's Ancha. Some of you probably heard of me. I've been very good friends with Brian and Anthony, Ryan, and Colton, and of course my son Nick. But they were my sons from another mother growing up. And I have one funny thing I was talking about today. My son's name is Nicholas Anthony Becker. So when he'd do something and he'd be in his room when Anthony and Ryan were over, and I'd be like, Nicholas Anthony Becker. Now, did my son come? No. Did Anthony come? What did I do? What did I do? he, but I call them my sons from another mother. I'm really gonna miss him.
He always
Who was that?
oh,
Oh.
man. Hmm.
And we're just Kate's trying to get the screen sharing. The one thing is that even if it doesn't work, what I'll do is I'll put it out, put them both on YouTube, and we'll keep trying. Double click to enter full screen mode. So double click on what?
Can you guys see anything that I'm
There you go.
It
You can
says it
see it?
started screen sharing, but it's still black.
Yeah, I don't see anything. It says it's starting to screen share.
Yeah.
Okay, sharing is.
There's a green thing down bottom that says share screen. I don't know if
Says bring it to the
that has anything to do with it.
Do you know how to do this? It says bring your shared video to the or window to the front.
One thing I think messing with us is the
Dad, by the way, you have your mic.
Oh.
What trying to go?
I don't know how.
Okay, next.
Brian, you're muted. Brian, you gotta unmute yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Brian.
I'm having a private conversation, sorry.
Oh, okay. With yourself as usual?
No, that's, you got to have some friends. So yeah, oh, there we go.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play it and then
You can tell him in
I'm not sure if the audio works through this, but I hope it does. All right.
Where's this go there? Back.
You'll have to unmute Kate in order to hear the sound.
Yeah. Kate, we'll start it over.
The senses return from a stay on the moon. It listens like spring and it talks like June. But tell me, did you sail across the sun? Did you make it to the Milky Way to see the lights are fading? That heaven is overrated. Tell me, did you fall for a shooting star? One without a permanent scar. And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? through the constellation. He checks out months while he does top up, reminds me that there's a wonderful now he's back in the atmosphere. I'm afraid that he might think of me, yes. Plain old Jane told a story about a man who was too afraid to fly, so he never did land. Tell me, did this wind sweep you off your feet? Did you finally get the chance to dance alone in the light of day? Head back to the Milky Way and tell me, did Venus blow your mind? Was it everything you wanted to find? Did you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? Can you imagine all the fried chicken? Your best friend always sticking up for you. Even when I know you're wrong, can you imagine no first chance? Freeze, dry romance, 5-hour phone conversation. The best soul latte you have ever had. Yeah. Did you finally get the chance to dance alone in the holiday? Get back to the Milky Way and tell me, did you fall for a shooting star? One without a permanent scar? And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself? Na 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 na
I'm watching this kid's funeral service. My cousin's grandson. He died. Oh, about 4 days ago.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. That's him. Oh. Yeah, this is my cousin's grandson. Yeah, he'd be my second cousin. Or my third cousin, actually. Got killed. He lived in, where did I say? Ohio is what I want to say. To lay me down one last time, to lay me down, to be with you once more, to be with you. Close together, let the world go by, like clouds are screaming, to lay me down last time, to lay me.
That was awesome. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you to everyone that was able to find pictures in time. I know it's all happened really fast. how hard it is to look through your pictures and videos. So thank you for everyone who helped me.
That's awesome. And by the way, someone has their mic open, so just check your mic, please. And who would like to go next?
What was the secret to get yours to play, and then I'll play mine.
I don't think Kate heard you. Well, we can play that in a little bit. I know.
I didn't realize I was on mute, but so I just did share screen, and it told me to bring it to the front, and I just brought the screen that I made the movie on to the front of it. I don't know. It took me a minute. I just clicked it a couple times, and then it seemed to work.
Okay.
Really hard for me to talk, but I have this memory that keeps coming back to me of this time that I was going to the airport and Anthony was driving me so I could go home to Florida from here. Kept playing. I'm not a big Twiddle fan. I don't know if anyone in here is, but he kept playing this Twiddle song, and I was like, Anthony, he played it the third time he played it. I was like, Anthony, I'm gonna kill you if you play this song again. And he was like, don't worry, Kate, even when I'm gone, I'm still gonna haunt your ass. And I keep thinking about that moment, and like now that moment and that song just means so much more to me, and it's just so crazy to think about.
Thank you, Kate. And it's interesting because a lot of times that it may be difficult to find the words, but yet when you do, they're poetic, powerful, and just perfect. So thank you, Kate.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone who has shared and just being a part of this. Tyler and Brian and Lucas, y'all, and Colton. We've all like known him from around the same time, so like hearing your stories really hit home, and it's good to see all of you guys too, because it's been hard doing this alone. Like with all this stuff going on, it's just nice to see everyone together, and he would want everyone to be together and celebrate his life, definitely, which he lived to the fullest. I think we could all agree on that.
Who would like to go next? Caroline, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I first met Anthony at Don Estridge in middle school when he was a little hockey kid, and we didn't really get close until high school. But oh my gosh, I said I wasn't gonna cry. For the longest time, he was like one of my closest friends, and like he's always there for me. And while I was in Jacksonville at college, he was the only person to come up and see me. Brian, you came with him one time, but he was just such a true friend. And like, he had such a big part of my life, and he will truly be missed. But the way he could walk in a room and light up the room and make everyone laugh, just amazing. Thank you for letting me talk. Sorry, I'm crying.
He loved you so much, Caroline. He loved you.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, you know, and Caroline, thank you for sharing that. And you know, it's interesting, you know, it's interesting that, and Julie had just said that, you know, how much, you know, how many times he would make people laugh. And I mean, would say things that, you know, only Anthony could get away with saying sometimes. I'm like, what?
I'm a grown-ass man.
Oh yeah.
How many times did you hear that one? I know I heard it a lot.
Yeah, I remember once when he was, probably junior high, and Kelly and John had just taken him to Orlando, and he did his usual thing of, you can't tell me what to do. I'm a grown ass man. And I'm like, dude, you are not an adult. And he goes and he brings out the ticket and says adult on it. And I'm like, start paying rent. So yeah, he definitely had that part in him. Who'd else like to share? So one of the things that I found very interesting is that, how many times, that I would hear from people throughout, Anthony, it was so funny because he would be like, hey, Brian, and I'd be like, I don't remember all of, and he was always like, everybody he met was like, you should know this person, you should know him, and you should know her. And it's like, yeah, some of you have only met once in junior high, but, everybody, to Anthony, everybody was like, yeah, but it's my best friend. I'm like, dude, you have like so many best friends, but he really did. And I think that was a testament to the way he lived his life, is that to him, everyone was his best friend.
He definitely impacted every person's life who he crossed. Definitely.
Yeah, there's definitely so many people I feel like I've never even met on here, but I could tell you guys stories like about what you guys have done. Like, it's just, he loved everyone so much. He always spoke so good about everyone. He was so happy.
Yeah, it's like you
Yeah,
could
I
go
only knew
Anthony
anywhere
would
with him.
come to any state that I was in. He would come to any state that I was in and literally know more people than I knew in that state. Or he'd be like, hey, will you take me over to blah, blah, blah's house? I'm like, bro, how do you even know them? He's like, oh, yeah, we've been kicking it. That's my boy. And then those same people drove from Tennessee to Florida for his birthday just to come kick it. Like, that's how much people loved Anthony.
Mm-hmm. Colt, you were going to say something? Colt,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like,
oh, Omar, go ahead.
I was just saying, I only knew Anthony for like a week before he bought me a plane ticket and the festival ticket across the country. And then we drove his car on a road trip all the way back to Colorado from Michigan. That was like my first big experience with Anthony. And I don't know, definitely didn't know how much of an impact that kid would have on me in the short amount of time that I knew him. I feel like he would always reach out to me at the most random times. When he would always reach out to me and say, like, everyone's mad at me and like I have no one to talk to, and I would try and like be there for him and talk him out of his funks whenever he needed it. But that kid just had so much love for everyone, and everyone he crossed paths with. It was amazing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. I think that's really, it's so funny how that really was how he was. And Colton, I know that you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say, you could go anywhere with him, and he would make friends anywhere he goes, and everybody loved him. And that's, I can remember going out at the Ohio State bars, and like by the end of the night, he's like with 5 other people, and you're like, who the fuck is this, And he's like, I don't know, cool people. He just made friends everywhere he went.
I remember once he went to Vegas and he was playing poker, and he's like, yeah, this guy, he took me to the strip club. And I'm like, what? It's like, oh yeah, he gave me like $500 to blow. And I'm like,
yeah.
What? And it's like, oh yeah, just a random guy I met.
Listen, you could put him anywhere and he would survive,
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I remember we went to the dispensary once and we were trying to go to this sold out show at Cervantes. And we like we stopped at the dispensary on the way home. And somehow like he talked I don't know what happened, but we were there for like 10 minutes and he talked to the bud tender there, and the bud tender had 2 tickets to this show we were trying to go to. When he was talking to him and I was like on the other side of the store, and we walk out of the store, he's like, look what I just got. I'm like, how did it's a sold out show. You talked to this kid for 5 minutes and you're like, what? It just was so funny. Like, he made friends everywhere, no matter where we were.
Yeah, one time he was staying with me in Jacksonville and I was working. And I got off work and came home to like literally over a dozen strangers partying in my apartment.
Oh no.
I'm like, who are these people? He's like, they're my friends. I'm like, I don't know these people. He would literally make friends everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
He had as much friends as he had clothes everywhere, so there's a correlation there.
I mean, it's funny. The first place we moved out into, that I moved out into at Ohio State campus, he lived with me, and I can remember like the first week we were there, he was just outside getting everybody to come in and play beer pong and just having fun, you know. You just be out on the street, yo, you guys want to come over? And I'd be like, what are you doing, dude? I don't want these random ass people in my house. But yeah, he would make friends everywhere, you know.
Literally, I remember one time we were in for his birthday. We got a hotel and an Airbnb in San Diego. We got a big Airbnb, and Hydra, of course, meets 2 random kids.
They hit me up this week, and wait, sorry, go.
They're kicking it. They're chilling with us. We're like, yeah, it's straight, whatever. All right, well, my friend comes over and he thinks that it's Hydra's other friend. Hydra's like, yeah, these are my boys, blah, blah, blah. Well, this man has a bunch of money and he just starts counting his money, and these are 2 random people, and they leave, and Hydra's like, oh yeah, I just met them like 20 minutes ago, and my friend's like, you don't know them? And they were like, nah, they're cool though, they're my boys. And let me tell you, those people still keep in contact, and I still have them on social media, and they still hit me up.
They hung out with us all weekend because he got like the Airbnb or whatever.
Me and Hydra went and painted, and these 2 kids were like, yo, I'll go with you guys, and we'll look out. And we went and painted with these 2 random kids because Hydra was best friends with them, and they were down. It was awesome.
Yeah, they loved it.
Wow.
Hey,
hello.
Go.
Scene right
Good
here.
thing.
You're on mute for a while since we had a lot of people. Haven't seen some of you guys in a minute. What's up, Critter? I don't know if Tanner's still on here, but once I think about it, it's been fucking skate park days. What, just turned 27 now? It's been over 10 years, and it's been since when I met Hydro. Just bowling, just getting into a lot of degeneracy. When Tanner would just live on Alpha 18th Street, I remember just being there a lot of the times. Just when Hydro lived near 20th Street, everybody
that crazy apartment he had.
Crazy apartment, but always got people together. No, I would always tell him, I'm like, you give so much. Like, you give too much, and a lot of people don't appreciate it. And, you know, some people took advantage of it. Other people reciprocated it. Loved the kid a lot. You know, like somebody was saying before, would randomly hit you up out of nowhere. He would just be like, hey, I'm in Florida. And I'm like, what do you mean? I thought you were in Colorado. Like,
he would call me all the time, no matter what he was doing. He'd be like, Kyle, how are you? I'm okay. He's like, I'm coming to Florida. I'm staying with you for a week. And then he would end up here for a month, or move here, move in with Lucas, and then he
move here.
And he would be, or go move to Colorado for months. And he would always call me and be like, we're going on tour. buy me festival tickets, fly me out, do whatever he could for me. And it's just like, it was really hard that I'm not going to be able to see him again.
Thank you, Kyle, for sharing that.
Hey dudes, if I could go next. My name is Lisa, for those of you who don't know me. I know Anthony because my best friend Julia was with him when I was 15 years old. So we would always go over to their house, and he was always just the happiest human being. Like, whenever, like everyone else has been saying, whenever you had a bad day, he would make sure that you'd be alright about it. And when I was going through my parents getting a divorce, he would stay with me whenever I felt like I was haunted by a demon at night and like having the worst sleep paralysis. He would stay with me and make sure that if I was okay when I woke up, and like let me talk about it and not make me feel fucking crazy when I would talk about it. And like he was just like the dopest human being. Last time I saw him was in March because we camped together at Okeechobee, and I was with my boyfriend at the time. And I don't know how many of you guys know Ricky, but Ricky wasn't always like the nicest person to my friends. And even though he was being like a dick to him, Tony left him like a pair of shorts and a shirt that Ricky said that he liked. And like that just kind of shows like what kind of person that he was, because he didn't give a fuck if you were nice to him back. Like he'd just be nice to you anyways for his own sake and like who he was and wanted to be in this place. So I just wanted to say that, like, I fucking love him. I've known him forever, and I'm really, really gonna miss him.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries, anytime.
Yeah, it's interesting. Julia just said in the chat that it's interesting because one of the things I'd kind of like stop for a little bit from, kind of say, from Julie, who was really there for Anthony from more of a, an adult level, and, Kelly and John and Ancha and, so many people who, were there for so many years, and, really appreciate all of that that you guys did for Anthony in that way. And who's next?
How do you do this?
There you go. You did it well. Your hand okay?
Yeah, I just fell skating. I knew Anthony since I was about 11 years old from
Wow.
JC Mitchell. He grew up on 31st Street in Boca, and I grew up on 32nd Street. And he lived out front of the bus stop. Anthony was one of my really good friends. He kind of showed me no matter who somebody is, I can't judge anybody, because he was always so nice to me, even though like people have things to say about people no matter what it is, but he taught me that like he never had one bad thing to say about me, and he was always too good to me. And he kind of showed me that. I talked to him the night that he passed away. I talked to him that night, and he sent me a text message, and it was like, how can you enjoy the good times if you can't go through the bad times? And that was that night that he passed away. And it's just kind of crazy. I talked to him that night, I don't know. He's one of my really good homies, and I'm going to miss him a lot. I know a lot of people are going to miss him. I've just known him since day one, and he's always really caring to me, and it kind of showed me a lot. Even when I could be a dick, he was still a really good friend to me. So I'm going to miss him a lot. And I know a lot of people are going to miss him. He touched a lot of people's lives. That's all I got to say.
No, thank you for sharing, and hope you're okay, not only with the hand, but, thank you to, always being there for Anthony from the beginning and,
Yeah,
to the end.
I ride for that kid till I die, so I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure if many of you know me, but I know a lot of you have known Anthony for a very long time, and I met him just about around 6 months ago through John and everybody in Boca, and it's just amazing to see just like this collective of family that he made for himself, and it's just from the time I met him, he was just always so nice. We literally spent basically half the quarantine together, him making me food every night, fettuccine alfredo, steak, lobster, whatever he wanted. He always wanted everybody to sit down and eat together. I just remember, us painting together, us doing crazy shit, you know what I mean? Just like taking walks with each other. We got kicked out of Publix a few months ago just for being rowdy and just for starting a party in Publix, just me and Hydro. And I gave him a huge painting of this band, you know what I mean? And he just kept it right in front of his bed, and he slept in front of it every night, and I just always thought it was just the sweetest thing ever. And I don't know, even though I only knew him for 6 months, it's just crazy, this effect, and how heavy it weighs on my heart. And I just really want to send all of my condolences to you guys, and I'm just really sorry.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think that that's something that, that a lot of people can say that a lot of the same experiences where, there's a lot of laughter and there's a lot of tears. And I think that that's a part of, the process, and, I definitely honor you, and even through this, is if you feel like speaking, speak. If you feel like just listening, just listen. We honor you for whatever you need. And, it's interesting because, I did this on purpose, and, from, like 7 to 10 or 6 to 10. Maria and I were talking. I was like, "You did this for 4 hours?" And I'm like, "Well, there's so many people that Anthony knew from coast to coast, and so many people that can't come on, especially those in California. So, it's great. I think it kind of worked out kind of well that, kind of if we weren't in the, the tradition, we did the traditional stuff, we wouldn't have this opportunity to get together and kind of speak the way that we have. And, I really appreciate all of you.
We appreciate you, Brian.
Thank you for putting this together.
Yay.
Yeah, I didn't know how good this would be doing it together online.
I think it's nicer because we all get to talk to each other, even though we don't know each other, but we knew Anthony. And it's such a broad scape of people.
He made a lot of friends.
Yeah, he would have been really happy to see everyone here together. Even though it's
making dinner.
It's just so funny because I just had to laugh. I mean, Trent shared me the one thing about Anthony, because he had such defining things that he wanted from his funeral and stuff. And I kind of had to laugh because, you talk to one person and he's like, "But I want this, this, and this." And you talk to somebody else and he's like, "This, this, and this." And, I think that for everything that he kind of envisioned, this is probably, better than anything that you could possibly imagine, because I think that one of the things that happens to have someone who loves so much is that when you love that much, you love so much that it hurts, and that's kind of the way I say it. And, I think that, he never really got to really say how much he appreciated all of you. So I can say that I know for a fact that he did. And thank you for being a part of that.
Could I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I'm Kenna. I've known Anthony for maybe like 2 or 3 years now. We used to go to a lot of like music festivals together, and we did like some trips up to Wyoming too. He loved Wyoming. But I'm just gonna talk as if he was like here listening, because like I feel like, maybe he is. But I just want to like thank him for always like buying the grilled cheeses at the music festivals, and always like he gave me one of his wristbands one time, and like he'd always make sure I was fed when I couldn't afford it. And honestly, he loved his grandma. Like he would always talk about his grandma. He loved his grandma so much. And I just want him to know that I'm gonna miss him. And I'm gonna do this shot in honor of him because I know he would want me to do this. So, cheers, everyone.
Hydra really would though.
Cheers.
That is such a beautiful testament, and I think that there's something that is, you know, so poetic about, you know, that he's listening, and to say as if he's a part of this, and in so much a way, literally and figuratively, he is. So, you know, it's amazing that, you know, I was thinking back, you know, for me, it's that, you know, the things before most of you knew him. And, you know, I mean, even when he was a little kid, I mean, he would go in and he would do things. And it's like, oh, don't worry, I'll find a way. And I'm like, but how exactly? And you know, even like with festivals and stuff, people are like, oh, I'm going to this festival. But you don't have any money. You don't have a ride. That's right, I'll figure out a way. And come back and he's like, yeah, I went to this festival. I'm like, how did that happen?
Hydro is the definition of where there's a will, there's a way.
So true, Lucas. So true. Anybody that hasn't spoken that would want to speak?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Hi, Brian, by the way.
Hey, good to see you again.
Good to see you. I wasn't planning on speaking, but this is just something I wrote when I couldn't sleep the other night. I pray you are no longer struggling. I pray that you are in a place of peace you've been searching for that you could no longer find on earth. I love you, Anthony. You're beautiful. To me, since the day I met you, you're my Aquarius baby. I'm gonna miss your voice. I'm gonna miss your face. I wish I could hear you say stink one more time in that voice we would do, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. I pray you're watching over me now. Guide me if you can. I love you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was really beautiful.
You would call all the dogs stink.
Stinky Stew, if you remember that. Stinky Stew. He always said it.
Yeah, he called all the dogs.
So, growing up, I remember I have more memories of Anthony and Ryan being at my house than my siblings, at least in the house in Florida. They were over all the time. Like, they were my brothers to the point where I think in like elementary school, I had to be explained that they weren't actually my brothers. But I remember that he'd always been that person that would go out and do something kind of crazy. And I mostly remember that because I was always the one that ended up getting hurt. I got my jaw broken one time, probably doing something dumb on bikes. But he was always the person that would push me out of my shell. And most of the friends that I made through elementary school into middle school before I moved were his friends that just kind of were like, oh yeah, that's just Tony. He hangs out with Anthony. It's fine. But I remember, I don't know if this story got told before, but I remember one time he called my mom at just a wreck, screaming about the ducklings. And I think it took my mom like a good 20 minutes to figure out what was happening. But apparently there was another duck that had walked over the grate and her ducklings were too small and kept falling in. And then they managed to get their way out and then fall in again. And just the whole phone call, all we would be able to hear is, oh no, there goes another one. As sobbing and crying and asking how he can help them get them out, like what he can do. Just like, no, come back, mother, come back. You've got more. But he's always been a bright person that tried every day to make things brighter, no matter what was going on. And didn't talk to him as much more recently. I've been super busy and just didn't seem to find the time. But I know that if I had called him and been like, hey, I want to hang out, he probably would have dropped everything and found a way here. And, you know, that means the world.
Hey, Tony, thank you so much. Love you very much. You know, I'll share a personal story that it's interesting because for those that know me and Anthony, I don't think he had a choice in this, but I'm a huge Steelers fan. So he became a Steelers fan. And we have this family tradition. So it started out on draft day one day, and this is before ESPN. This has it on TV, and I'm going to the park and Ryan's on the monkey bars, and just as the announcer says, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking Ryan falls and lands behind with his arm behind his back, and I'm like, I got to find out who the Steelers are picking. And he comes and his arm is literally, you know, the other way. And I'm like, I guess that I have to take him to the emergency room, and he breaks his arm. So that's the first year. The second year, another park, Kelly, Matt, Chris, they're all, you know, Kelly and I are taking the kids to the park, and Matt and Chris and Anthony and Ryden are riding bikes. And all of a sudden, Anthony comes out of the woods, like holding his stomach, exactly the same time before the Steelers draft pick. Anthony impaled himself on his handlebars. Back to the emergency room. Draft day again. Tony riding his butt. Tony's riding the bike. Anthony stops in front of him. Boom. Tony goes, hits face on the side or in the pavement. Back to the emergency room. So far, impalement on a bike. And it's like, so every time in draft day, it's always like, lock up your children. So who would like to go next?
I remember that all 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the arm. I think you called me to see who the pick was, I believe. You're like, oh, Ryan, but who's the pick?
That's the important things.
I know that, Brian, you told me that you saw a rainbow.
Yeah.
Shortly after this happened, and it really made you think of Anthony. And I think it's a nice thing when we see a rainbow to think of Anthony. And you'll be surprised when you see them.
So I'll share that I was, you know, one of the hard part about this, and, you know, for Ryan too, is, you know, you have to go and you have to notify everybody. You got to call people. And I was at the park, and I was, you know, late in the day, and, you know, you end up with, you know, talking to, you know, probably a couple hundred people throughout the day. And I was getting done with calling one of my friends, and, you know, the stereo comes on, and I don't know how many of you know Avenged Sevenfold, but the song Set Me Free came on. And I was just like, I literally jumped back. And, you know, if, you know, you listen to Set Me Free and you listen to those lyrics, I was like, damn, that really sent chills. And all of a sudden I looked over, and there's this rainbow, and I was like, just so freaky.
He left me a feather yesterday.
Julie, you have your hand up?
Hey, Brian. It's really good to see you. I know most of you don't know me. I'm from the Boca crowd years ago. But this is such a wonderful tribute to your son. And it really makes me think about how important it is that we pay attention to the people around us. So I know it's kind of cliche, but I thought I would read this really quickly.
Yeah, please.
We don't meet people by accident. They've meant to cross your path for a reason. If a relationship doesn't survive the test of time, it doesn't mean it still wasn't meant to be. Not all encounters with people are meant to last forever. Sometimes people are in our lives to teach us something. Sometimes the forever is not the person, but what we gain from them. And that's a quote by Karen Solmonson. And I just thought it was really appropriate because it sounds to me like so many people have been touched by Anthony. And I mean, I know that, you know, Brian touched my life in a way that he probably doesn't even realize, but I remember wonderful conversations, and I know that Anthony became the person that he was because of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, how we go back and forth of, you know, the things from, you know, things when he was younger, the things that he was older. And I think that one of the things that, you know, I love that there's an author, Gibran, and he wrote The Prophet, which is, I actually used to carry The Prophet around with me, read it all the time. And one of the things about children is that, you know, they're not your children. They're the children of the universe, and they come through you, but they're not yours. And, you know, it's really indicative of, you know, one of the things I really love about Anthony is that, you know, he lived his own life. He lived his life not for anyone else. You know, there's things I can agree and disagree about, but it didn't matter. It was his life, his decisions. And I love him about that. And who else would like to share?
Can I say like a story?
Yeah.
Just when me and Anthony brought home the cat to your house.
Yeah.
Cleo, do you still have her?
Ansha has Cleo.
I have her.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, I'm taking very good. She's like queen of the house.
That's so funny. I actually have a recent picture of her. I'll get Brian's number and send it to him, or when she was a baby.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I'll have some sent to him for you.
Yeah, I just like, I was going through my memories and I came across and it reminded me of that. Oh my God, we literally found her in the street and she was this big, and Anthony was like, oh, we'll just take her home to my dad's house. And I was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, it's fine. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, she's spoiled.
Good. She's adorable.
Yeah, I didn't see if Nick was on here, but, you know, I think that that's one of the things that for me is, you know, going back to the times when, again, Nick and Colton, and there was a time when, you know, we'd go to the hockey games all the time. And Anthony loved going to the hockey games. And it was, you know, like really late at night. And, you know, I was sharing with them, you know, what do you want to do when you're older? And what do you want to do? And oh my gosh, between Nick and Anthony, it was like, it was so surreal how much that everything that they shared was so much about not just what they wanted, but what they wanted to do for other people, and how much part of, you know, their growth was about helping others. And I can say that I think they've done a great job of that so far.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Who else?
I could talk now.
Yeah, go ahead, Trenda.
Okay. I mean, when Kyle was talking, I just started thinking about how Anthony and I met, and it was through him. We went to a Cervantes show, and Anthony and I immediately, we just clicked and wanted to hang out all night long. And then in the morning I woke up and I couldn't find my phone anywhere. And next thing you know, I had someone else's phone. I'm like, what is going on? How do I called the phone. I'm like, hi, I think I have whoever's phone you're trying to call. Maybe they have mine. And Anthony picks up the phone. He's like, yeah, you have my phone. He's like, I have yours. It's like, okay, I don't know how that happened, but blah, blah, blah. I live here. Where do you live? He's like, yeah, I'll come pick up my phone. Do you want to go to lunch? And I was like, okay, all right, let's go to lunch. And we get off the phone, and I run to my roommate, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this boy's phone. He sounds so cute. I cannot believe this. Like, I'm gonna go to lunch with some cute boy right now. And we went to lunch, and we were like inseparable after that. And I don't know, it was just like a twist of fate that we ended up with each other's phones, I guess. But I could share my poem that I wrote now. I just said, you must know it's not necessary to say that I'm gone, only that I'm away, off somewhere far, yet always near, perhaps in the breeze that dries your tear. Shining bright with the sun on your face, smile, feel comfort in my warm embrace. Walking at night by a flickering street light, feel comfort, it's me just out of sight. I truly hope you don't feel grief or sorrow for what you meant to tell me tomorrow. Right now, right here, I know your peace. Right here, right now, I am at peace. And I just know he's here with all of us, and he would want us all to be happy and thankful for everything he did and the times that we spent with him.
That's a beautiful poem, Trenda.
Yeah, I'm really
it is.
blessed to have him in my life.
So I'm going to throw out a question. First thing that comes to mind, anybody's welcome to share, but the first, the best memory you had of Anthony, go.
His constant dance moves. I mean, like his like thing that he's like, I don't know. I can't even replicate it.
Going backwards. When he this is me going backwards.
Yeah, look, I could do it. Maybe I can do it. There, he's like. I don't know.
That was good.
We had so many good memories, but one of the weekends we always said was one of our favorites was when we spent literally 12 hours watching chick flicks.
So I can tell you, for the longest time, you'll never guess what Anthony's favorite movie, and I can't even think of, was Leonardo DiCaprio, the
Titanic.
Titanic. And Anthony watched Titanic like 100 times, and I'm like, dude, are you watching it again?
Yeah, The Notebook was one of his favorite movies.
He made me watch Friends.
I was
like
just gonna
on
say
repeat
Friends.
all the time.
Oh, you like The Notebook?
I had to stop watching The Notebook. I mean, Friends. You watched Friends way too much.
It's like Friends or The Office.
This man lived with me in Tennessee, and I would literally be like, "Oh, here, I'm doing something right now. Put something on the TV, Anthony." Without a doubt, I could guess what he's gonna put on every single time, and it was Friends. And
Even when we lived in LA or Palmdale, it was like
no
always
matter what,
on TV, and we're all like, "Why are we watching this?" We would all watch it. Like
Anthony
no one
takes
ever
the
changed.
remote, you know you're watching Friends. Friends is on, you know Anthony has the remote. It's like, you know, that's just how he was.
Oh, but Netflix put all the seasons on, so that was the TV show every single night. It's
To add on to the signs, Anthony had bought me a necklace at the end of March, and he was like, "It'll be there in 2 days." I did expedited shipping, and it never came, and he was so mad about it. And like 3 weeks ago, we were just like, it just got lost. I'm never going to get it. And then a couple days ago, it showed up in the mail.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Thank you.
Yeah, 4 months later.
When I was cleaning my closet out and like going through his clothes, I was like, picked up a pair of pants or something. I was like, there's something in the pocket. In the pocket was a set of his car keys that he had lost and went through all this stuff to try to find it. And I was like, I can't believe these were in my closet. Like, a pair of car keys, like a car that he was leasing. And I was like, I can't believe I've had these. Like, he was been looking for these. So weird.
I guess one of my favorite memories is I was working in New York, and it was like right after I had a really hard summer, and he was really there for me. Like, I had a really hard summer, and like not many people could have been there the way he was. And then I moved to New York, and you know, he would like, we would always like, our Facebook messages would be like, miss you, miss you, miss you, miss you, miss you, miss you. And like one day he was like, hey, what's up? I'm in New York. Let's get breakfast. And it was just like 10 a.m. And I'm like, I'm at work. He's like, just leave work. We're getting breakfast like now. And we just ended up spending the weekend together, just like being like fancy tourists, but also just like totally not. And it was just great. He just like popped in and like just like sensed that I needed him, and just like didn't accept me being like, no, he's like, no, we're breakfast now. So yeah, that was a really good weekend.
That is awesome. Thank you.
I remember
Just to hit a. Oh, go ahead.
When I came out to him and told him what my new name was, I remember the first thing he did was turn around and go, wait, your name's Tony. Are you stealing my name? You used to answer to Tony at my house for like ever.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tony. Lucas.
One of my more recent favorite memories was right after he moved in. We didn't have a TV in the living room. So he was like, we're going to Walmart. We're getting a TV. And while we're getting a TV, he sees a speaker and he goes, you know what? That's it. I get a speaker. I get a TV. We can watch The Office all day. I can pump into it all day. And you know what? Let's go get some White Claws. It's about to be the perfect day. And that's what we did. We bumped loud music all day, put The Office on, and drank way too many White Claws.
By the way, just for everybody, Colton's battery died, and he just wanted to say that he loves all of you and that he appreciates all of you.
Fuck.
No birthday presents yet?
What?
You're up. Anybody else in terms of memories that kind of one of those out of
So
go ahead.
Me and Anthony have memories that are just way too long. But like my whole high school, like 4 years, like I was with that kid probably almost every day, you know. But I just miss like when we were in my backyard in my Boca house, and just, you know, all of us would be hanging out there, you know, just hanging out, just smoking weed, just, you know, just vibing, you know. It was just the
So
funny.
many crazy times at that house with all of us.
For real. That house was probably,
things.
I think we got the cops
Go on.
called once a week.
I think the cops
We had
knew
parties.
exactly what was happening when they got that address.
Yeah. But
Everybody lived there.
yeah, it was just like
You couldn't
just
get him
like
out of
a
my
hangout.
house.
But
Whether it was in the
it's just
garage or a
we're the greatest
bedroom.
people ever. It's just
Hey, what happens in the garage stays in the garage.
yeah, exactly. He lived by that.
I'm pretty sure he lived in that garage for like a good year
Yeah.
that we were there.
I was like,
Also-
come on, just hop in my bed, Anthony. It's all good.
I
I'll give you a pillow, man. You got it.
I remember one time Anthony came to Tennessee and he's like, "Yo, let's have a bonfire in your backyard. Let's have a little fire." I'm like, "Bro, you don't know anybody. Like, we're just gonna stand around a fire." He's like, "Doesn't matter, bro. We'll be chilling, whatever." So we're chilling at the fire, and then we hear somebody down the street like having a party, right? And I'm like, "Yo, I'm about to go inside." He's like, "All right, I'm gonna chill here. I'm gonna sit here for a little bit." This man goes
I can only
and
imagine.
just knocked on these people's door and just walked in and was like, "Y'all having a party? Can I come party with y'all?" And just started hanging out with these people, and he became friends with those people. Would go walk over to their house, and I don't know anybody else who would do that.
One time when he was like living with me, he locked himself out of the house with the keys in the house. And he had dropped me off at work, and I was at work, and he was like, "Kate, I locked myself out, but it's all good. Your neighbors are really cool." I was like, "What?" And then he like became best friends with my neighbors. I had never met them before. And like I get home, and like while I'm walking up to the hallway, he's like opens the door next to mine. He's like, "Come on in, come check out their place. It's really cool." I'm like, "Who are you?" And it wasn't just my next door neighbors. By the time like when I first started like going back to work and he was still like staying at my house, he became friends with like the whole neighborhood. He's like, "Oh yeah, the guy at the first house over there, love him." I'm like, "Who are you even talking about?" I have no idea.
I can totally see that.
So, to kind of tell Anthony, like Anthony just for one had like no shame. And so one of the times he came down to my house not too long ago, it was when I had my house in Boynton, and he walks into the house and, you know, he like takes over the house within a second. There's like stuff everywhere. And the next morning he gets up and he's like, I'm like, "Dude, you are wearing my underwear." "I don't have any underwear, man." I'm like, "You don't borrow other people's underwear." He's like, "Yeah, what's a big deal?" I'm like, "Man." And I'll tell you what, it's so funny because no matter what, he just would like walk into the house and it's like, "Oh, it's mine now."
One time we were at a bar and it was his first time meeting my family. My dad and my brother were there. He didn't have his ID, and he's like, "Oh, well, I could look up my mugshot online. Will that work?" And my dad was just like, "Trenda, who are you dating?"
That is awesome, Haley.
That's so Anthony.
Trenda, you got
My dad loved Anthony by the end. Like, my dad passed away last year, and Anthony was there at our house with me, like taking care.
Anthony's the one that found him
through all of it. Yeah, Anthony found my dad passed away, and it meant so much to me that he was there, like through the entire time with me, and through my dad being in hospice and like watching him, and he was like a huge support system for me. I don't know like what I would have done without him there through that. He
Thank you.
promised my dad that he would be there for my sister and I, like through everything on his deathbed, and I understand why emotionally like he couldn't be there anymore for himself or anyone, so I get why, but it just meant the world that he tried and he did his best for everything, like he did with everything else. He did his best at everything he could.
Hey, I got you guys. I promise I got you guys. It's not, doesn't just end with him.
I got you too.
We all got each other.
Yeah, I already told you,
There
Ryan.
you
I
go.
got you. You need anything, you already know you can hit me up.
anything anyone needs.
Yeah, we all got each other now.
Yeah, I can say that I am so incredibly proud of Ryan. Has been doing amazing. I think that it is really important to reach out to each other, and if you do anything to, it doesn't end tonight, whatever you guys need,
And same here too. I know you guys don't know me, but
Anthony talked so much about you. He talked so highly of you, and he loved you so much. And the things he said, like, I know you're a very important part of his life. I never met you, but he loved you a lot.
Thank you.
That to you too, Ryan. He always talked about you, Ryan, and he loved you so much.
Thank you for that.
Ryan and Anthony and Colton called me Mama Bear.
Yeah.
You are Mama Bear.
My friend was reading me a message earlier. She got sent to the Kennedy Center kind of the same time that you went, Ryan. And she said, like, the last time that she spoke to Anthony was so long ago, but the message, she was already there. She had got sent away, and he just would send her messages every day to look after you. That's all. He would just contact her just because he wanted to know how you were doing. And she just like remembers that always, that he just would always constantly just want to know what you were doing.
Love you guys.
Love you, Ryan.
Love you.
Love you, Ryan.
Love you,
Love you, Ryan.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Love you, Ryan.
Love you all.
I mean, I love you, Ryan, and I love you all. I just haven't seen all of you guys.
We all must be special for you were friends with
everyone.
Anthony.
Anybody that hasn't spoken yet that feels that they would like to speak now?
I think Logan's about to hop on too. He's just trying to figure out how to get it to work.
That's cool. Yeah, that's let's see, you want to, okay, so let me unmute. So, Mom, you have to hit the space bar. Let me see. You have to hit the space bar, Mom. There you go.
Space bar. My come on.
I don't think, can anybody else hear?
Oh,
It's going in and out.
Yeah, something wrong with your
I don't think
speaker.
their internet's very good.
That's what I was gonna say, probably because of where they are.
They live in Wyoming. What do you expect?
Right? By the way, hi Marie, I haven't seen you for ages.
I know, crazy.
I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah.
They ditched us.
Grandma,
I'm like, and they left.
Grandma, Grandpa, if you could move to another spot in the house and try it, that'd be great.
Yeah, good move.
Where do you usually get internet, right? Tell them.
Nowhere.
Oh, I was saying, because he stayed there, so
the front
stand
porch.
still and put your hand on your head and jump. You'll get it.
Walmart.
Nah, go to
The
my
library?
room and do backflip.
What?
Say go to
And
my
do a
room and do
backflip?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Then you got service.
Okay, try again, Mom. Press space bar. See if it works now.
Press space bar.
There you
All right,
go.
we're on.
okay.
Oh man.
All right, you're gonna have to. I am. Sorry.
What if I have her call me and I put it through?
Put it on speaker. That's a good idea.
Hey, Mom
let me-
called. Mom
Hey.
called. He's trying to get on too. And I'm trying to figure out how to help her. So
Okay.
I'm gonna have to
I
hop off.
understand that.
Oh yeah, I'll call her from. Yeah, I'm gonna call her from her phone.
Okay. I'll call grab mom and then put her on hold.
Or like screech and sound like
Kyle Hanley, you are on.
All right, Kyle. Well, I'm Kyle now, but well, I muted us because all the other people went to do whatever, and so now it's just me and Tori. And I just wanted to say hi, whoever is still in this live stream, and like I love you guys, and I feel your pain here with me too. Like we've all like life. So it's been a long ride since then, and we've all been everywhere since and doing different things, whatever.
Love you guys.
This is some like family shit, so.
What is that?
Tanner just sent a video. Thank you, Tanner. Anybody wants to download the video, Tanner put it in the chat.
Yeah, like I know how to do that.
I found on my.
How do we put videos and pictures in the chat?
There's a little file button.
On my
Where?
phone?
I don't know. I'm on my computer.
Where's the file button?
It's like right at the bottom of chat.
Oh, okay.
Like right
Took
above.
me a
where you
half an
type
hour to
your
get on
message.
here. Okay, I see. Yes. Thank you, Tanner.
Your laughs in that video, they make me laugh.
Okay, Mom, go ahead.
Okay, listen, guys. We have, Anthony has talked about all of you for years. Tanner, we met, he's met us with Anthony to bring him back up to Wyoming. So thank you, Tanner, all you've done for him.
Absolutely.
And for the other kids, we knew you when you were younger. And, you know, you've always been there for him, Anthony. I've known you guys for years through Anthony. I'm just good to see you in person. And he talked about you guys for years. Like, so it's good to with some of you guys. And I haven't seen, some of you since you were young. And so, and Anta, it's good to see you.
You too, Grandma. Or Mom, sorry.
All this and meet everybody for once and see you in person. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for always helping Anthony when he needed it too.
Yeah.
He always talked about you and
you
would always make it a point. He's like, this dinner's on my grandma or something.
Yeah,
Grandma didn't know about it, but it was on Grandma.
I think he spent $5,000 on Chipotle on your credit card or something. I don't even.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your bank accounts, but he loves you.
I was
so
like,
much.
Anthony, you can't do that, dude.
So much.
At least he's feeding everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
And he'd always make it a point too. He'd be like, "Hey, my grandma likes it when I'm with you, so I'm gonna tell her I'm with you right now, all right?"
And you're all starving.
Yeah, we all would have starved to death apparently without Anthony's grandma.
Man, without Anthony's grandma, yeah. Whew. Thank you, Anthony's grandma.
Yeah, Grandma, I've never met you, but he said he spoke a lot about you. I feel like I have met you through him.
The funny thing is, he used one of my phones, and I've uploaded, I re-downloaded, started using it again, and it's just a bunch of pictures of you guys, of Grandma and Grandpa and Wyoming and stuff. So I have all these pictures of you guys on my phone.
That's awesome. Steven, do you want to share anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first moved out here to Denver, moving across the country can be a little uncomfortable at times, And he also did the same thing, so he knew the uncomfortabilities and everything. So he was like always there for me, always, like even when I was not in the best vibes and I kind of was just wanted to just be in my own down in my ruts, he would constantly just call me and be like, Steven, let's go do this, get out of the house, let's go do this, let's go do that. Even when I couldn't afford it because moving across the country was expensive, he's like, come on, bro, don't worry about it, just put a smile on your face, let's go to Red Rocks, I'll buy the ticket, let's go do this, I'll take care of it. Like even when I couldn't, he was just always putting a smile on my face. And I'm honestly really grateful that he was a part of my life, you know, and I'm really gonna miss him.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I know that there's a couple people that got on just a few minutes ago. Thank you for joining us, and anybody who's just come on, anything you'd like to share? So how's, you know, everybody's kind of talked about a certain time period. Anybody else that knew Anthony from a little bit different time in his life? And how do you remember Anthony in that way?
What do you mean by a different time in his life?
There you go. Just coming up with something, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'm sharing again. It's just I've been kind of looking through our text, and it's just I just saw this text and he just said, I do everything for everyone and I love everyone so much, and sometimes I don't understand like why I don't get that in return. And that was a long time ago, and it was like the few moments of him, I guess, showing me like his, like allowing me to not being about me and my issues, you know, and like opening up to
sharing his vulnerability,
you know, showing that. And like it allowed us to have just very meaningful conversation. And I don't think he understands or well understood just how much he helped me, because he just accepted me for who I was without like that was it. Like, yep, you're V, you have all of your issues, but I'm here. I love you. And that's something that it's really hard to do for, I guess, most people. And he just like automatically did it. And I loved him for that. And yeah.
That was really good. Thank you for sharing that.
That was one thing about Anthony. No matter the person, he would never judge. And like, he would never say anything bad about anyone. It'd always be like, oh, he's kind of like, if it was him talking bad about someone, like, it'd be like, oh yeah, they're kind of crazy. And it's just like, oh, Anthony's calling someone crazy. Like, that's his way of like saying something's up. But he never judged anyone that we ever came across, and he would befriend them and let them prove themselves before he ever judged them.
Yeah, I remember Anthony calling me a couple years ago, just furious, and saying that somebody had said something negative about me. And I said, dude, it's fine that, you know, people say shit all the time. What's, you know, it's not a big deal. You know, people talk, and most of the time people say negative things, so it's no big deal. And oh my God, he was so angry that somebody would say something. And I think that that was, you know, he was very, you know, shall we say, territorial and protective of the people that he cared about.
Yeah, he was.
As I said, you know,
or sorry, go ahead.
He was an amazing, really more older brother to my younger children. When I was looking through pictures, every single picture, when they're babies, he's holding them, he's hugging them, they're on top of him. And even in the last November or last December, when I drove him up to meet my parents, and he was not in a good place. And he needed something. And I said, well, it's just in the house. The girl's in the house. Just go get in the house. He's like, no, they can't see me like this. And so even when he knew he was not in a good place, he wanted to protect them. And that was always him. He was always taking care of my kids. And I so appreciated that about him.
Hey, so Mom can't get on the group, but she has something to say too.
Yeah, you can just put her on speaker.
Yeah, and I also love you, Aunt Marie, and I appreciate you. And here's Mom.
I love you too, Ryan, and I want you to come and spend some time with me. And that's not asking, and that's not an invitation. That's an order.
Oh.
I will pay. I need to see my baby.
All right.
As far as all this goes, it's been driving me crazy. I haven't slept in a couple of days. I sleep a few minutes, lay in bed the whole time, trying to close my eyes, trying to sleep. But my mind was racing.
I understand, Mom.
But I don't know. I love Anthony so much. And it's really hard.
I know, Mom.
All right. I'm going to let you go, okay?
All right, I love you.
I love you too. Call me in. Let me know when I can send for you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so that was Anthony and Ryan's mom. So yeah, I was trying to think of something. I got nothing, but
about him being protective, I had uploaded I got a new phone, and when I connected my phone, for some reason it connected to my iCloud of 2011 or 12. And so I was going through our texts, and it's basically all these texts from him saying I would do anything for you, and we would always go back and forth, and he'd be like, let me know if anyone disrespects you, because I'll be there in 2 seconds and fuck them up. Or it just goes on and on. And it's all these old messages. I'm like, damn, it's crazy. He had my back from the moment I met him, since day one in 2012 or whenever it was, till, the end. And that's just the type of person he was. If you were his friend, anyone who he crossed paths with, he was always going to ride for you no matter what, which was really great.
that's awesome. Thank you, Kate. And
yeah,
it was interesting because I think we've talked on the phone a few times when,
yeah, I've definitely talked to you and the grandma and everyone, at least in the car, on speakerphone multiple times.
Yeah,
it's
he used
nice
to tell
put a
me.
face to everyone.
Yeah, he would tell me a lot about you, and that he's like, someone's messing with her, and I'm gonna find out who it is because no one messes with Kate. That's my homegirl. And he was so mad. I'm like, hey, just don't get in trouble. I'm supposed to be kind of like your mom, a little older, but I understand. Protect her. Okay.
Yeah, he always had my back no matter
He
what.
said you were such a good friend to him.
Anthony got in a fist fight with a guy one time because they didn't treat me good.
Oh, wow.
I believe it.
Yeah, he was very protective of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Nick, great to see you. Glad you can make it.
Hey, Bri, I've been here for the whole thing. I've just been a little not wanting to speak.
No, I appreciate just you being here.
Of course.
And by the way, you look fantastic.
Thank you. I just decided to walk out of the house to go get some dinner, actually.
I was gonna say I could see you better before.
Sorry about that, guys.
I gotta pick on him. He's my kid.
And Nick, it's funny, when I was looking through pictures, I found a picture of you at one of Anthony's birthday parties. I was like, oh, look, he's so little.
How old do you think they? Well, what was Anthony's birthday? What age?
I think he was like, ugh. I have to look at the other children to try and gauge what year those pictures were from. I think he was
at least 5 or up, because that's when he started going to JC Mitchell.
I think he was like 8 or 9. I think he was 8.
Yeah.
But
that's when he was at JC Mitchell, and then went,
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think of, when they were much younger, and, when Nick and Colton, how many times we went to hockey games, and, Matt and Chris, and, there was just a selective, really small group. And, I remember how Nick, he wanted to hang around you so much because you were a good influence. And, it's interesting how, how much he wanted to hang around certain people in different, stages in his life. But he always remembered everybody, no matter, how long ago it was.
Yeah, and I always got the same thing, just like everybody else. I mean, just a couple months ago, he contacted me. He's like, yep, I'm in Boca. When are we hanging out again? Just like he always did. But yeah, playing hockey with him back in the day was the best, honestly. He really made me want him more, actually. And then he was the reason why we actually sent it to Colorado for that hockey camp. Like, I was terrified of planes at the time, and I really didn't want to go. And he's just like, come on, man, you got to do it. You got to do it. And this is the first time I've ever I was away from home for a while, and it was just me, Anthony, and Colton going. And it was probably the best sleepaway camp I've ever had. And we stayed at Anne Marie's house. Sorry. I saw Grandma. I wanted to say hi.
Grandma's not very tech savvy. Love you, Mom.
But yeah, they were such good memories, honestly.
Yeah, it's so funny. Before you, I'm sure you don't remember this, but I think if that time when, the times of going back and forth of, it was, either Marshall or, I taking you guys to the rink and or to practice or something. And oh my God.
Or me too.
Oh yeah.
Whoever could take us there and drop us off. We just wanted to stay there for hours.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
Of course, I wouldn't miss it.
Anybody else ready to speak?
Brian?
Yeah, John.
Hi. I've been quiet. Real quick. Hello, you all. Funny, I know Brian deeply, deeply well, but none of you. I've heard about some of you, and I've just listened, and it brings back a memory of my mother who died at 91. And I remember it was a true celebration of life. There was nothing, what could we be sad about? There was just nothing. And I get the same feeling here with Anthony, how he's touched all of you. And his life was obviously so filled with giving love. And I think his time, it could have been like he lived 90 years. He touched all of you so deeply. So it does really seem like a celebration, and I'm honored to be a little part of it. So thank you all, and my heart is with all of you. Okay.
You are a big part of it because love you very much and always appreciate you. And, it's interesting because it was interesting, the things that, in terms of, and I think that this is the reason it's important to share, and even the ones that are sharing the vulnerability, is that the way that when you share such deep vulnerability and the things And Anthony would share like nobody I've ever seen. And he was telling me once that, you know, after he did DMT, he was saying, you know, he called me up and he's like, yeah, I spoke to God. And I'm like, well, what did God look like? You know, I'm like, he's like, no, it's not like that. I talked to God. And he's like, we had this big, long conversation and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So what do you say? I said, well, I just need to have patience. And, you know, it's just so interesting how he's like, yeah, you know, as long as I'm doing DMT, I'm good. And it's just so interesting just how much, you know, for me, I'm someone who's never done a drug in my life and I've never been drunk. And so, you know, a little bit different. And so.
How the heck did he ever even know what DMT is? I mean, I come from the 60s. I was in Haight-Ashbury in 68, as you well know, Brian.
Oh.
I know very well about DMT, but no one else does.
Yeah, Stephen.
Anthony does,
You'd
obviously.
be surprised in this chat.
There you go. Wow.
You'd be surprised in this chat.
Not a surprise at all from anybody, honestly. To be honest.
Life has gone on. That's terrific.
Stephen,
Wow.
I have to tell you, Stephen, you have the best expressions. You know, so like you know, there's 39 people, but I can only see like 10 people. For some reason, Brian, you're still like right on my string, Kate, Trenda, but it is so cool, Stephen. You have such great, you know, expressions. So.
Hey, the vibes are high here. You know, it's like he said, it's a celebration of life, like John said. You know, so there's not much to be sad about besides, I mean, the main fact. But
No.
Be grateful for the time you had. That's all. That's all. Thank you, God.
He would definitely want us to celebrate.
It sounds that way.
Yeah, he'd be mad if we didn't.
Exactly. It's all smiles.
Oh, is someone sharing a picture?
Oh, look at Colton.
Oh.
Hey,
Oh,
that's from Damon is Sharon.
Is Damon in the middle?
Yeah, Damon in the middle. That's
Is that
Justin
Colton on the left or no?
Nah,
I think
these are all
I met
Tennessee
Damon
people.
once
This
out
is
here in Colorado.
this
Gotcha.
is what is that? Freaking Irish holiday. I don't even. St. Patty's Day in Tennessee. In Hydro, we had like a giant like Nerf gun war in this person's house, and Hydro bought a bunch of beer and Jameson, and everybody else threw down and got a bunch of beer, and we just had a party.
That's
And
the
that-
fun though.
Sounds
And Nerf
accurate.
gun. Yeah.
Is Damon on this call?
Damien is.
I think. Did he come
in-
through?
He's
Colorado,
yeah, he is in.
guys?
Yeah, he's in college.
He's muted, but he's on.
Cool. I think I remember him.
I'll unmute you, Damon, to see if you can. Let's see. I just asked to unmute. I'm not sure if you're on the iPhone. Can anybody tell him how you unmute from the? Oh, he got logged off. He's just coming back in.
I have no idea if this is working.
Oh, go ahead. I can hear you.
I'm trying to share this one picture, but I am having the same difficulties as other people. Okay, now I'm very confused as to what I'm doing.
We can see your screen, just so you know.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Then,
text and
okay.
stuff.
Okay, yeah, there's some just stuff. So let's get to this. And so
Aw.
this picture, we were like, I don't honestly, like, maybe he knew them, but I didn't know these people. And we saw this, and he was like, we have to take a picture. And like, I was like feeling uncomfortable, and I was like, I don't like, no. And he's like, no, this is it. Like, we have to take this picture. This will be our picture. And I was kind of shy, and he was just like, just trust me. And we took it, and like, now it's just my favorite picture.
That's
So,
awesome. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
it's really cool.
yeah, I wanted to share that.
That was like
Hey, I
your
don't think to
neighbors
be
or
rude, but
something?
y'all hear me?
Yeah, you can hear it. Come on. Yeah, Damon, you can hear it.
Sorry, I was just trying to figure out how to like work this app. I just downloaded it. Thanks to good old Tyler Fellew. He put me on. So appreciate you, Tyler. But yeah, that was me in the middle. And that was good old Drew on the right. Or Anthony, excuse me.
Yeah, anything you want to share, Dame?
That was my guy. I actually met him when he came to Tennessee. I drove out to Florida, to Boca Raton for his 21st birthday with Tyler. I think it was his 21st birthday. I mean, he was just a good guy, man. I'm devastated. I miss him to death. For real, I really do. Like, it just shocked me. It still doesn't feel real. Like, I'll never see him again. We hung out from Boca Raton, Florida, all the way to. Did he come to Cali with us? Yeah, he did. All the way to the other side of the United
I
States.
remember you guys when you stopped in Colorado.
Yeah, we did. Good times, good times. Yeah, man, he was just awesome. Dude was full of life. I don't know. Love and miss him. That's pretty much what I got to say. It won't be the same traveling.
Thanks, Dame.
Thank you.
Tony, I finally get to see the dog. I love that.
Yeah, she's really curious about what all the noise was. She jumped up to at the screen for like the past 10 minutes watching everything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Where's the dog? I want to see the dog again. Sorry.
Hey, look.
At all.
You want to see? No, she's not going to look now. She's like, no, Dad's talking now.
Yeah, I know that there's, other than Dame, there's a couple other people that just came on. Anybody that has either been on or, been on for a while that wants to share anything?
Well,
Since I spent, sorry, Steven.
No, go ahead, please.
So since I spent all day making this video, I'm going to make it work.
Well, while you work on that, I'm going to speak on our buddy Travis Markham's behalf. He didn't get the opportunity to be with us today, and I know this really means a lot to him. I know Anthony and him were very, very, very close friends. Anthony spent months and months on his couch out here in Colorado, and that was kind of when I first moved out here. So we were all spending a lot of time together, and we were kind of like a little tripod, kind of leaned on each other a lot. We were like each other's pillars of strength. So I want to say on Travis's behalf, I know he wants to be here, and I know he really, really, really deeply is going to miss Anthony and loves him very much. So I'll say that for Travis.
Thank you so much. And I have a special place for Travis. Travis and I had, it was so funny because Anthony came down and we went to, he showed up at a concert at Meisner, and he's like, oh, my buddy Travis is going to come by. And so Travis came, and all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, but Travis and I ended up, Anthony left, and he's like, you kind of come with us? He's like, no, I'm going to hang out with your dad. We hung out like all night long. We had such a good time.
Yeah. We all had a pretty close bond, so this really hits home for us,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Rick, pleasure to see you, because you, for whatever reason, keeps popping up on my screen. It's interesting because, like, I am not exactly Jamie, but it's interesting. So I only know people by whatever their screen is. So anything you want to share is before Marie gets the video running?
You hear me?
A little bit.
Yeah, this is Rick.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so obviously I don't know anybody. I never got to meet Anthony, and I know you from working at Office Depot, and I can't tell you how you and your family and friends how sorry I am to hear what happened to Anthony. And kind of in a selfish way, I feel really bad that I never had the pleasure, the honor to meet Anthony. He sounds like the most amazing person. And obviously there would be an age difference, but I feel like he would be such a person to connect with. And obviously it's a testament to you on the type of person and the man that he had become. And I'm so sorry that I never got to meet him, but I feel like I know him so much just in the last hour and a half or so that I've heard everybody speaking about him and sharing the stories. I feel the love, and I feel like I know him now. So I just want to tell everybody that, I'm so sorry, and your memories will live on, and you'll have the memories of him, and he's watching over for all of you, and he'll be with you. And I'm sure he'll send little signals that only you'll understand, but just cherish the memories and the love, and someday we'll all be together again on the other side. But thank you for allowing me to share this with you.
Rick, it's been way too long, and I think that that's something that I probably take away from this is that, it's way too long for all of us to, the times that in between, when we get busy and, life gets in the way. But I can say, Rick, you're one of the most kind-hearted, awesome, amazing people, and definitely appreciate you being here. And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Brian. And actually, I was thinking the same thing. We had kept saying we wanted to get together, and obviously this slaps you in the back of the head and kind of gives you that notice that, it's important not to let time go by. And so, yeah, I want to get together with you very soon.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
All right. Well, my phone's going to die pretty soon, so if I jump off, take care of everybody. And again, I'm honored and it's a pleasure to get to know you just from this little bit on the screen.
Thanks, Rick. Well, I think that Marie has the, looks like she has the video.
Sorry, Tony. There's lots of them.
I get that, but also why?
I did want to just say to your friend John, right, that just spoke, that Anthony didn't care how old you were. It was like you were cool. He'd be like, oh, now this person's cool. Well, they're your parents. I don't care. And he's a cool person. Who cares how old this person is?
Yeah, thank you for that, Anja.
He's a very wise soul.
Very old soul.
Old soul. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yep, very much so.
Everybody was invited. It didn't matter.
So
go ahead.
Before I start the video, the story behind this picture, we were on a hike. You'll notice my youngest is probably, let's see, she's 6 in this picture. The one who whined and complained the most was Anthony. Why are we still walking? It's so far. The entire hike. Like, dude, you're 15.
Real question, was that the one where me and Ryan climbed a waterfall and Anthony was at the bottom, like, yelling at us that it's too high, it's too high?
Yes.
That was every hike I made Anthony go on with me. He'd be like, why are you doing this to me? This is insane. I'm like, you signed up for this. Like, I told you what the plan was. And he'd every time be like, I have a video of the hike we went on was a little intense. I could even say that. And he's like, I can't breathe. Can you breathe? I'm like, dude, we can stop. It will be okay. Like, it's all good. Every hike though, he would be like, this is too much. This is too much.
Yeah, I will kind of piggyback on that. One of the things with Anthony was so hilarious especially when he was in junior high, he was the ultimate hypochondriac. And so all the time is, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And so we'd have to go to the doctor, and the doctor's like,
you're fine.
Yeah, no, you got nothing. And the second the doctor said you got nothing, he's like, yeah, can I go out and play now? Like, instantly he's better.
And Brian be like, no, you have to stay in for 3 days at least.
Like,
He
dude.
do all the time.
All right, so if everybody can kind of mute your phones, and Marie, take it away.
Will you count me in? I've been awake for a while now. You got me feeling like a child now. 'Cause every time I see your bubbly face, I get the tingles in a silly place. It starts in my toes and I crinkle my nose. Wherever it goes, I always know that you make me smile. Please stay for a while now. Just take your time wherever you go. The rain is falling on my window pane, but we are hiding in a safer place. Undercover, staying dry and warm. You give me feelings that I adore. They start in my toes, make me crinkle my nose. Wherever it goes, I always know that you make me smile. Please stay for a while now. Just take your time wherever you go. But what am I gonna say? Feel this way. I just and it starts in my toes, makes me crinkle my nose. Wherever it goes, I always know that you make me smile. Please stay for a while now. Just take your time wherever you go. Like a child now, 'cause every time you hold me in your arms, I'm comfortable enough to feel your warmth. It starts in my soul and I lose all control. When you kiss my nose, the feeling shows. 'Cause you make me smile, baby, just take your time now, holding me tight. Drops of Jupiter in his head. Walks like summer and talks like rain. Reminds me that there's time to change. The senses return from a stay on the moon. He listens like spring and he talks like June. Tell me, did you sail across the sun? Did you make it to the Milky Way to see the lights are fading? That heaven is overrated. Tell me, did you fall for a shooting star? One without a permanent scar? And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? Chasing his way through the constellation. He checks out Mozart while he does top. Reminds me that there's a room to grow. told a story about a man who was too afraid to fly, so he never did land. Tell me, did this wind sweep you off your feet? Did you finally get the chance to dance alone in the light of day? Head back to the Milky Way and tell me, did Venus blow your mind? Was it everything you wanted to find? And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself out there? Can you imagine all love, pride, deep fried chicken? Your best friend always sticking up for you. Even when I know you're wrong, can you imagine no first chance, freeze dry romance, vibe out from conversation? The best soy latte you have ever had in me. Did the wind sweep you off your feet? Did you finally get the chance to dance alone in the light of day? Head back to the Milky Way and tell me, did you fall for a shooting star? One without a permanent scar? And did you miss me while you were looking for yourself? Na 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 na. Can you imagine no bird, fried, deep fried chicken? Your best friend always sticking up for you. Even when I know you're wrong, can you imagine no first dance, freeze dry romance, pop out phone conversation? The best oil latte you have ever had.
Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song. Love me do, I think it was, and from there it didn't take him long. Got himself a guitar, used to play every night. Now he's in a rock and roll outfit and everything's alright. Don't you know? Johnny told his mama, hey mama, I'm going away. I'm gonna hit the big time, gonna be a big star someday. Yeah. Mama came to the door with a teardrop in her eye. Johnny said, don't cry, mama, smiled and waved goodbye. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? And all the world will love you just as long as you are. Johnny made a record, went straight up to number one. Suddenly everyone loved to hear him sing a song. Watching the world go by, surprising it goes so fast. Johnny looked around him and said, well, I made the big time at last. Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Whoa, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Yeah. And all the world will love you just as long as you are. as life passed them by like a warm summer day. Trucking, got my chips cashed in, keep trucking like the doodah man. Together, more or less in line, just keep trucking on. Arrows of neon and flashing marquees out on Main Street. Chicago, New York, Detroit, and it's all on the same street. A typical city involved in a typical daydream. Hang it up and see what tomorrow brings. Dallas got a soft machine. Houston, too close to New Orleans. New York got the ways and means and just won't let you be. Most of the cats that you meet on the street speak of true love. Most of the time they're sitting and crying at home. One of these days they know they gotta get going. Out of the door and down to the street all alone. Trucking like the doodah man once told me, you got to pay your hand. Sometimes the cards ain't worth a dime if you don't lay 'em down. Sometimes the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see. Lately it occurs to me, what a long, strange trip it's been. What in the world ever became of Sweet Jane? She lost her spot, but you know she isn't the same. Living on Reds, vitamin C, and cocaine. All a friend can say is ain't it a shame? Trucking up the buffalo, been thinking you got to mellow slow. It takes time to pick a place to go. Just keep trucking on. Sitting and staring out of the hotel window. Got a tip they're gonna kick the door in again. I'd like to get some sleep before I travel, but if you got a warrant, I guess you're gonna come in. Busted down on Bourbon Street, set up like a bowling pin. Knocked down, it gets to wearing thin. They just won't let you be. You're sick of hanging around and you like to travel. Get tired of traveling, you wanna settle down. I guess I can't revoke your soul for trying. Get out of the door, light out and look all around. Sometimes the light's all shining on me. Other times I can barely see. Lately it occurs to me, what a long, strange trip it's been. Trucking, I'm going home. Whoa, whoa, baby, back where I belong. Back home, sit down and match my bones and get back trucking. Home, 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 home.
You know, it's interesting that we was planning on playing that video at the beginning, and how appropriate it is that in the circle of life that, you know, we went from the first video, which showed him as an adult, and we close out as showing him as a baby. And there's something that is really poetic about that. Tim, it's been a long time. Great to see you, man.
Good to see you, bro. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
Good. I love that video, man. I smiled so many times, laughed a few times. There's some great pictures in there. It's obviously you guys had some great times over the years.
Yeah, most definitely.
Who put that all together? Was that you?
That was Marie, my sister.
Oh, okay. It was great. I really enjoyed it. And the selection of music was cool too. You know, a little bit of everything in there. It was good. It was really appropriate. You know, you guys did a nice job with that.
Thank you.
It's funny, the first song was because literally every time that song came on the radio, Anthony would be like, oh my God, I love that song. And I'm like, are you a girl? Like, what the heck?
Nice.
But yeah, it was going through pictures was like, holy cow. There was so many pictures.
So were most of those photographs over the years?
Yep, all of them were.
All of them. Wow. How'd you get them all uploaded and everything? Had you done that for a while or what?
I spent a lot of time scanning yesterday.
Yeah, I imagine. Because I just went through a couple of years ago. I moved from Florida to Los Angeles, and I went through probably, I don't know, a couple hundred pictures and scanned them all in and everything. And it's just such a tedious project. I mean, it takes a while.
Yep.
How did you do the music? How did you is that some kind of special software so that it does the the pictures in a certain order or whatever?
Yeah. A slideshow program.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I really enjoyed that. It was great.
Thank you.
Anybody that hasn't spoken yet? Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I got one. This is
Hey,
yeah, how's it going, man? This is Chance. I'm Marie's husband, Anthony's uncle. And the one story that I always remember out of Anthony that is just never ceases to crack me up. Although I'm sure Brian has a different story, a different viewpoint, I should say. The kids were playing, and then all of a sudden, Anthony came running out, yelling, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And we're like, and I remember you coming out there and, what did you do? And you finally, he's sitting there, I didn't mean, and you had him down on the ground and you were just, what did you do? Just tell me what you did. And he finally just said, I stuck a bead up my nose.
I forgot all about that.
I mean, I at the time, I was laughing so hard, I had to actually leave, and I took the garbage out just so I could get outside the building because I was just laughing so hard. I was laughing my ass off. And of course, Tony was there the entire time going, told him not to stick a bead up his nose. I said, don't stick a bead up nose. What if it gets stuck? And it's like, yeah, it got stuck.
And thank you, Chance, for everything that you've done for both Anthony and Ryan over the duration and being such a great support network for them. And just thank you for everything.
No problem, man. We're here for you. We're family.
One of the things that I can say with both Anthony and Ryan is that we ended up going to the emergency room so many times that they not only knew me by name, but I threatened that the next time that they needed stitches that I was going to do it myself. And the nurse was convinced enough that I was actually going to do it, that I still have the scissors and the clamp to do stitches. We have about a half an hour left. Who else would like to share?
I just wanted to say before this all ends, thank you for everyone that helped me make the video, and just thanks Anthony for the memories and Brian for bringing him into this world. He'll always be a part of me and in my heart forever and carried there every day.
Well, I was going to close out with this, but I'll share a story with you that is a little bit kind of longer, but then I think it's more appropriate that I don't close it out. I would rather that all of you kind of close it out. You know, people have asked me, you know, about how I'm doing right now. And I have the same perspective that I had back when he was in junior high. And it was interesting because I got a call from the nurse, which was a weekly occurrence. You know, hey, Anthony needs, come pick him up. So there was no sense of urgency on my part whatsoever. So I was eating dinner with my friends, Andrew and his wife, and we're eating sushi. And I'm like, whatever, if I'm there in a half an hour, who cares? And the nurse called back and said, if you're not here in 5 minutes, I'm going to call the ambulance. So I quickly, you just could tell by the urgency in her voice. So I paid the bill quickly and rushed out. And as I got in the car, I called her back and I said, what's going on? And she said, we think he's had a stroke, that there was partial paralysis on the one side of his body. He couldn't have lost his memory, his speech, and she was a specialist in strokes, and she's like, I really think that he had a stroke. So, being that he's in junior high and getting news, you're trying to process in your brain of stroke, child, like all kinds of things are going through your mind. So get to the school, get to Don Estridge, and there's Anthony just smiling, get in the car, and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, the nurse, she's just exaggerating. She has no big deal. So we start to drive and we go next to FAU, which same ride home every time. And he said, oh, is that FIU over there? And I said, do you mean FAU? He said, yeah, that's what I said, FIU. And I'm like, okay, that's a little strange. And then he goes, well, can you turn up the TV? And I said, what do you mean TV? He said, I said the radio. I'm like, all right, we're going to the emergency room. So we go to the emergency room and he progressively gets worse to the point where he looks up at me and he says, who are you? And he would say things like, the sentence pattern would be mixed up. It'd say it like in flow, and it just kept getting worse and worse. So he got transferred over to Joe DiMaggio Hospital. And there at Joe DiMaggio, he's stuck with all these electrodes and everything else. And I'm like, how do you deal with this? Is it going to be fatal? Is this going to be permanent? Like, I don't know if I can handle this. And it was that first night. It was there for a week. And all of a sudden, like a rush of peace came over me. And that peace was because I remembered back when he was 6 months old. And he was sitting in a high chair and he had choked on a chicken Gerber stick, and I went and got the chicken strip out of his mouth, which I was told you're not supposed to do afterwards by the paramedics. But that ended up him having an asthma attack every day for a full week. At the end of the week, the doctor said, look, you need to go get an x-ray because he just keeps having these asthma attacks. We can't do anything. So go to the doctor, they take an x-ray, and the nurse comes literally sprinting out. And she said, we have to do emergency surgery. And I'm like, what do you mean emergency surgery? Yeah, there was a penny that got lodged in his throat, and it was in there long enough that it had, the skin had grown around his throat to where he literally can't breathe. So they said, no big deal. It'll take just a couple minutes. Should be back in half an hour. Well, like an hour goes by, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you start going, something's wrong. And so she came back and that, you know, she had the penny and she's like, at any moment he could have died because he just literally did not have any airway. And so when he was in that hospital as, you know, in junior high and he had all the electrodes, all of a sudden I just had this, again, wave of peace. And I got to this place, I just all of a sudden said, wow, you know, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if it's fatal or whatever it is. You know, I got 15 years extra that for whatever reason I probably shouldn't have had. And I have to tell you that entire week we've in our entire time together, we've never ever had a better time. We sat and played video games, watched movies. I just took time off from work. And so, you know, in this time now, I look at, you know, here's 20 some years that he's been able to grace this earth and be a part of all of our lives. And so I'm incredibly grateful and holding on to that, not what we've lost, but grateful for what we've had. So with that, we have 20 minutes. If you haven't spoke, you feel like it, you know, whatever you'd want is the floor is yours. I think Alexander is about ready to go to sleep.
Hello.
Hey, Cal.
Hi, Brian. I just wanted to say thank you. This has been a beautiful tribute to your son. We are very, very sorry for your loss. I know you were there for me through my mom's loss. I didn't know Anthony, but I heard so many great stories about him. I know he had an amazing personality, and this tribute is beautiful with all of his friends. It really pays homage to the person that he was, and we're here for you for anything you need, and you are an incredible person with so much strength and beauty, and you certainly are an inspiration to everyone. So thank you for doing this beautiful tribute to your son.
Thank you both, and honor you in your journey. By the way, please, everybody, send congratulations to Kelly as she is pregnant.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. This is my husband here, and he's also an artist and a musician, and he also feels bad for what happened, and we're here to support everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Such
the
a
beautiful tribute.
wonderful soul and so young. That's such a bummer. I'm sorry.
We're very sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have something to say, Bri.
Of course.
When the kids were younger, you know, I'd always have them at my house because I was like house mom. Besides Colton, Ryan, and Anthony and Nick, we'd always have Gavin and all of them. They used to like staying there because I'd let them stay up late. They're like, can you like ask my dad, this is Anthony all the time, can you just say to my dad that I like kind of need to stay over? I'm like, you need to? He's like, yeah, well, he won't let me. I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to say? That I need to. I'm like, well, what am I saying you need to for? I'll say everybody's staying and you can come. That's fine. He'd be like, yeah, because we can stay up late and play video games. I go, only if you don't have school tomorrow. If you keep me up, then guess what? They use that really good. Tell you what.
Yeah, for those of you that I've never met, you know, I really, really appreciate you coming on. I mean, I kind of have the viewpoint that, you know, at any moment, you know, you guys could be spending your time doing an infinite number of things, but you chose to spend your time here together with us, together honoring Anthony, and that is incredible of you, and very much appreciate all of you.
Love you, Brian.
I very appreciate you for everything. And I don't know, I mean, just speaking for me, this has been amazing and it's been wonderful and incredible just to see how you're just managing and helping us and you just talk through everything. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing as well.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for allowing us to all join together virtually and celebrate Anthony's life. He definitely had a heart of gold. So we really appreciate you, and he will forever live through us. He will forever live through us.
Thank you. Alexander.
I'd like to say, man, thank you so much for putting him on this earth, man. He was a great person, and he's changed a lot of lives and impacted a lot of lives. And, you know, his legacy will live on because of the fact that he's put so much happiness in a lot of people's lives, and he's like made a lot of people better and made them realize a lot about themselves and be able to reflect on themselves because of how he was to us. You know what I mean? It's all about self-reflections. And one thing about Anthony was whenever you met him, and this is one thing I always try to do myself now, is whenever he left you, you were always better off, you know, having known him and having had him in that moment.
That's a beautiful testament.
Yeah. He always left you better than you were before. You know what I mean? And he made sure of that. And I hope that everyone can take that and use that with themselves, because it's one thing that I know that he would want us to do. And I love him, man. I love him so much. I'm wearing one of the shirts he gave me. I have these pants he gave me. He hooked me up. You know what I mean?
Steelers.
And by the way, most of his clothes were originally my clothes. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You know, it's ironic that current circumstances forced us to do a memorial service this way instead of in person. And honestly, I think this is way more powerful. I don't know if it would have been possible to get all of you in one place physically to do this. The fact that, you know, as Brian said, Anthony was like a ping pong ball. He was bouncing everywhere. And, you know, I didn't see him as much as an adult, but it was constantly, where's Anthony now? Where's Anthony now? Where's Anthony now? And, you know, I've heard stories about so many of you. And I know if we would have tried to do this during regular times and in person, I don't think this would have been as powerful and as meaningful as it has been. So I want to thank all of you for joining us and for sharing your stories with us.
I agree, Marie. I think we be more lax here and just chill and like say stuff we may not have said in a stuffy environment, or you know what I'm saying. Like,
and I really appreciate
everybody got to come.
Yeah, and one of the things I really appreciate from you guys and all of you sharing in a real raw way, uncensored, real raw. I think that that's important, and I'm glad that you felt safe enough in this environment to do that. As we go, I mean, the couple of like housekeeping things. Cross fingers that this got saved. My intention is to put this out as a YouTube video. Of course, I'll use Trenda as the email that to her to make sure that that gets out. Kate, thank you so much for the video. That was, you know, it was interesting because, you know, you kind of said, you know, is there anything you could do differently on the video? And I would say absolutely nothing. It was absolutely perfect.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone, like I said, because I wouldn't have been able to do it without everyone's help. And thanks, Brian, for putting this all together, because you really did bring everyone together, and Anthony would have been really happy for how this went, I think, for the circumstances.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, I got
It's
a
a big deal, you know.
I just got a quick question for you, Brian. So his ashes, is there gonna be like maybe like they have like little bullets or little like pieces of ashes to so to have with you? I don't know if you guys are doing anything like that.
Great question. So what I've done, and I think it's important, we've done a trend has started a GoFund page for Ryan. So what we're going to do is that's going to go for Ryan to go, because Ryan really wants to, you know, kind of take part in that. So what he wants to do is do part of the ashes in Florida at the beach, and then other part of the ashes in Colorado in the mountains. And definitely want to do something in person. I will be the one that's going to be kind of further away in terms of the whole coronavirus. But yeah, great question, Brian. And we'll keep everybody up to date with that. I am not sure, just to kind of, the morbid good news is today you know, I don't know what the process is. And so I called the coroner, and they're like, it's going to be weeks before you can identify someone, because, you know, you have to get medical records and dental records, and none of that he had. And so a couple nights ago, I all of a sudden realized that I have his fingerprints. So today I went and mailed out his fingerprints. So hopefully that process can go quicker. And then go through, you know, getting that, and definitely will let you know as much as possible.
Thank you, and thank you for putting this together. It was a beautiful service, and thanks to everyone that came to. It was great.
Good to see you, Brian.
That was absolutely beautiful. So if I could once again read this poem that my friend shared with me. And this is in honor of Anthony. And it's, remember me. Don't remember me with sadness. Don't remember me with tears. Remember all the laughter we've shared throughout the years. Now I am contented that my life was worthwhile. Knowing that I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. When you were walking down the street and you've got me on your mind, I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. So please don't be unhappy. Just because I'm out of sight, remember that I'm with you. And he will forever live with us. Through us.
Awesome. Alexander, you still on it?
Yeah, I was gonna say my friend just recently started a company, and I don't know if you want it or, you know, his aunt or his grandma or anything. It's called Ash to Glass. And basically what he does is he takes your loved one's ashes and he makes it, and you can wear forever, and he can put like whatever, you know, Grateful Dead stuff or whatever, you know, that reminds you of him. And
Wow.
you know, I know he would love to do that for free, probably, because he knew Anthony as well.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
If you are interested, yeah, we can do that as well.
Yeah.
You know, for a little bit. So if you want, I can get in contact with me through Trenda, and yeah.
And I mean, I like always talked about him coming to Paris and France. So, I mean, I don't know all the logistics of me like flying back because I'm in France right now, but I would love to like spread many ashes in France just to bring him there, like he's supposed to visit.
That's a beautiful idea.
Yes, it is.
Nina?
Oh, I was just agreeing. Yes, it is. Absolutely. You know, he would love that. You know, he wanted to travel everywhere. He definitely was a he was a road dog. He is a road runner. He's like, I can't stay in one place too long.
I know. He wanted to come here, so I feel like I could just share this place with him.
So beautiful.
Yeah, he wanted me to go to Costa Rica with him.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Costa Rica is absolutely beautiful. And the
Was-
next
okay.
time I go, I will think of him.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's somewhere he really wanted to go.
Yeah, I know. He always talked about it. And Costa Rica is absolutely beautiful. The people are very nice, very kind. Just like him.
Yeah.
You know, and we truly, like Alex said, we truly are all reflections of each other. And I am happy to say, that I was a reflection of Anthony, and as we all were, and his legacy will forever live on. So,
And Lucas, I know you're
thank
ready.
you guys for
I
sharing.
just wanted to thank you, Brian, for kind of helping keep this flowing so well and putting this on and letting us have this space to come together. It meant a lot to a lot of us. So thank you.
It really
Thank you,
did.
Lucas. Yeah, I
Yeah,
said
thank
this in the
you.
beginning, but if you guys did not hear, you are all incredible people. Don't let people say anything otherwise. And, I have this philosophy, the best way you can honor somebody is be as happy as possible, as wealthy as possible, as healthy as possible, live a freaking great life every single day. And, just be authentic to who you are. And you guys are awesome.
Thank you. So are you. Thank you so much.
Putting this together.
Tanner.
I was just saying thank you for putting this all together. I appreciate it, and we all do. Anthony was an awesome person. We'll all remember him. Live on, try to live our lives to kind of reflect him.
Yeah, thank you, Tanner. I mean, it's been many, many years, and you've been through so much with Anthony, and appreciate that all that you've done for him, and staying and sticking with him, and being such a beautiful friend to him.
Oh, he's done more for me than I could ever do.
Yeah, but you probably made him smile, and that was what he wanted.
He did smile a lot.
Right. He just was friends with you and loved you. That's all he needed.
I just want to say goodnight and thank you. It was so nice seeing all your faces, and thank you for putting this together. And Hydro would have loved it, and he loved all of you guys so much. And I hope you guys smile as much as I do when I think about him.
Love you, Emily.
Love you.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night, guys. I'm
Good night.
gonna sign out. But this is amazing. This is such a nice way to end my night, and I'm gonna go to sleep definitely thinking about all of you guys and him.
Colton, do you have something you want to say?
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Stay blessed. Sending many blessings and much love.
Good night.
Yeah, all you guys. I just say good night, everybody.
Hey, I love you guys. I really love you guys. I
love you
appreciate
too.
y'all.
Hey, Rye. Yeah, go ahead, Rye.
I was just saying I appreciate y'all. I love you guys.
I love you, Ryan.
Thanks for this whole thing. Love you too, Tanner.
Love you, son from another mother.
Love you, Ancha.
Love you, man. He told me a lot about you.
Uh-oh. That'd be me. I hope it's good. It better have been. I'll come find you.
It was all good. It was all good.
I love my Ryan.
Yeah, I love you too.
Yeah, seriously. My favor to all of you is to, keep in touch with Ryan. I know he's going to meet, this is a hard part, but really the hardest part is going to be later when everybody disperses and stuff. So if you can, please stay in touch with Ryan.
We're all
Hey,
here for you,
Colton.
Ryan.
Hey, I'm here.
Always.
Call
Right.
me whenever.
Love you guys.
Love you, Ryan.
Love you.
Love you, Ryan.
Love all y'all.
Brenda, thank you for all the coordination in doing this. It's kind of interesting. I go with my intention. It was interesting because I don't know who, I was talking to Anthony's mom, and, she said, look, I'll fly on a plane, I'll go anywhere. And I'm like, look, we're still in a pandemic, so nobody's going anywhere.
Mhm.
And I just instantly came to me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do a virtual ceremony. I'm going to host it, and anybody's invited. And really, I just invited. It didn't matter who it was, and I think there's a perfection in everything that worked out this way. And Anthony is definitely in all of our hearts, and as we go forward, anything you need in terms of support or anything else, feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you
Good night,
for everything.
guys.
Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah,
We really
It was
definitely.
good to see all of you guys.
Just remember, Anthony lives on in our hearts, everybody.
Forever and
Yes,
ever.
forever.
Sir.
And I'm going to shut this off, but hopefully everybody cross their fingers that it's going to record okay. And then what I'll do is have it on YouTube so you guys, watch it and you share it with anybody else that couldn't make it. Peace, love to all of you, and very much appreciate all of you.
Love.
Thank you.
very
Have
much.
a wonderful
Y'all.
night.
Nothing to do but smile, smile,
Rest
smile.
Later.
Love y'all.
Bye. Love you.
Love
Good
you guys.
night.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night. Right, stay in touch with me.
I got you.